Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are defending Star Wars. We are talking about some of the most controversial, least loved, or most misunderstood Star Wars in the entire franchise. And this week we are talking about
The Last Jedi.
That is right, The Last Jedi, directed and written by Rian Johnson. The movie that a lot of people said lost them for the Disney Star Wars franchise completely, but we have somebody.
There was one
who says that it is a good Star Wars movie, that it is a movie worth defending, that it has the best looking Luke Skywalker in the entire franchise. Why don't you introduce yourself?
All right, I'm happy to be back. This is Thomas Edward, and again, you have both been telling me everyone's waiting for me to do this. I'm like, you're full of shit.
There was literally a line of people here that shook your head.
Yeah, there was. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, because I guess the owners of this place, they record their own podcast, and they just wrapped, and then the owner just like, this is the guy. I'm like,
yes.
Like, all right, and everyone shook my hand.
Did you feel like Luke Skywalker?
A little bit.
They're like, you were about to go take down the Death Star, sir.
Yeah.
We salute you.
We have our legacy guest with us.
It is one of those things that Star Wars The Last Jedi, I think this is the movie that a lot of people fell off the train for the
Yes.
Disney Star Wars movies, right? Yeah. I think this is the one that everyone realized that there was not really a plan set out, and for, the trilogy that made a lot of people angry. And there's also I have key reasons why people did not like this movie, but I want to know your thoughts before we get into that, Thomas. At first glance, the Star Wars Last Jedi, did you like it right away? Was this a thing that you came to later?
So this was a thing that came to me over time, because I saw it opening night, and when I left the theater, I felt nothing. I didn't not like it. I didn't like it. I was just like, I left the theater. I was like, I watched a movie, ? And then I just kind of moved on with my life. Like, I didn't feel anything. But after, it was released on digital, I rewatched it, and I was like, I don't know about this, but then...
Because Star Wars is your jam.
Yes. Right? I mean, I have a lot of jams. Like, I do love Star Trek. Like, my favorite Star Trek film, like, as far as original cast is concerned, is The Undiscovered Country. That's my favorite of all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, Trekkie's gonna get mad.
Next month we will be doing Defense of Star Trek, because I got questions, but we'll get into that.
It's the same director as your favorite.
Oh God.
Yep. Oh yeah, you forgot about that shit, didn't you? Yeah. Anyway, I apples and oranges. I love them both. Deep Space Nine guy. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
I can respect the Deep Space Nine man. All right, that is a man that has a certain taste, but it's a class act.
But I grew up literally on Star Wars. Just like with Disneyland, oddly enough. I asked my dad about this recently to confirm with him for this, and I was 1 year old when Return of the Jedi came out. He needed to see it.
This was not I want to see this. This looks cool.
No,
it was like, this is what we're doing.
He was like, Barb, my mom's name, we're going to go see this. If we can't get a babysitter, we're seeing it.
We're taking the baby.
We're taking the baby. So technically, even though I don't remember anything, I was in a theater opening night of Return of the Jedi. And I was strong. I even asked, was I well behaved? He's like, yeah, you were fine.
And that was gonna be my question. Like,
Yeah.
were you happy?
Was I one of those babies? Because according to my dad, I was not.
Because what is it? Literally yesterday, because we're recording this on Revenge of the 5th.
Yes.
On May the 4th, we went to go see Return of the Jedi
At the Frida.
Wow. Oh wow, that would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that was the plan. See Return of the Jedi on the big screen with a ton of children.
Because everyone probably had the same thought as your dad did, was, I want my kids to see Star Wars for the first time on the big screen, not realizing their kids are far too young to be in a movie theater.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, some kids can do it. Some kids are able to go to the theater, they're able to behave and understand, when you go to the movie, you
Etiquette,
sit there and you watch the
you're
movie.
Polite, you watch the movie.
That was not our experience yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, like, the first movie I saw in theaters was Phantom Menace, but I was like 5, I guess,
Yeah.
when it came out.
Mhm.
And my dad was like, "You were really like nice, quiet." The pod race came on. Granted, I could have screamed and lit things on fire, and no one in the audience would care because everyone was just nonstop cheering
It was insane.
from
Mhm.
drop to credits.
Yeah.
But Return of the Jedi, really.
Yeah, I was present.
I like how you say I didn't see it, but I was there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I saw it, but I wasn't. My consciousness didn't click on yet. But yeah. I grew up on Star Wars. I love it with all of its flaws. Let's just. I think everyone, Star Wars fans, all of them, and I'm gonna get into that shit today.
Mhm.
All of them, good, bad, medium, whatever. All Star Wars fans need to calm the fuck down.
That was
Everyone needs to relax.
We literally recorded Phantom Menace. That was the start of our month, and the argument that our guest on that one, Matt, made was people take Star Wars way too fucking seriously.
Yes. Like, we need to agree, Star Wars has been really cheesy since 1977.
Mhm.
If anything, even before.
Yeah.
So it's fine. There's clunky dialogue. Not all the acting's great. There's issues, with one exception. There's one film out of all of them that is perfect.
It's
And-
A New Hope.
No.
Yes, absolutely.
Close, but not perfect.
Is it the Christmas special?
It's the Christmas special. No.
It knows what it is. It knows what
And-
it's got. B. Arthur, like Christmas special is where it's at.
you can't go wrong with putting B. Arthur in there. But it's I get goosebumps when I just think about Empire Strikes Back.
Mhm.
I think it's perfect, or at least as close as perfect
As the Star Wars films can get.
as like, I feel the bar was set high like immediately, and I don't think we're gonna get close to that, but ever again, which is fine.
Yeah.
But no, and just and as we were kind of discussing before, like I grew up with, all we have is the Star Wars trilogy, the original, and yeah, there was the EU stuff, but
It's not directly from Lucas, so it's
Yeah.
different.
I mean, there were some things, like I remember the whole era of Shadows of the Empire very clearly, and I was super into that. Like, it was like, I think at the time it was like the Star Wars movie without there being a movie. Like, that's how that novel and then subsequent
that's the
comics
Timothy Zahn
so-
trilogy, right?
And then there was games that came out that I played, and then other things. And one of my favorite ships to nerd out Star Wars is the Outrunner, or the Outrider from that. I keep doing that. I keep
You keep poking the ground.
I
the
keep
table.
poking the table. No, but when it comes to The Last Jedi, like I said, I didn't think anything of it. And then when it came out, I was like, I don't know about this. But then there were things that I noticed that people were complaining about. I'm like, wait, why are you complaining about this? This is actually a good thing. Like, this is a good part of this. Yeah, there's other issues with it, which we'll get into. Like, me defending this does not mean in any way that I think it's holy shit, the most amazing thing ever. I still have some issues with it, but the things that people seem to complain about the most are the things that I'm defending today.
I see.
Okay.
To just clarify.
Now, this whole long intro is to establish the fact that Thomas is not a crazy person. He is a long-lived Star Wars fan.
He's a real person.
He's a real person.
No AI on this podcast.
No AI. You have Star Wars clout at this point, where it's like, as a fan, this isn't a like, well, I first saw Force Awakens, and that was my first Star Wars. You have the Star Wars clout going on.
You were baptized by Return of the Jedi.
You were baptized by Jedi.
I was baptized by Return of the Jedi. Yes.
But now, here are some of the key reasons why people dislike this film that I've pulled, because there are some reasons people dislike it that I think are kind of either unfounded or incredibly offensive that I don't want to justify.
Yeah.
But the general ones that I have found that people keep bringing up is the Luke Skywalker transformation from the original trilogy, how he acts compared to the last time we see him to this. People have issues with that. The pacing and bloated plot of the movie, people feel that this movie is far too long. It is currently the longest Star Wars film, I believe.
I know you're just kind of listing things. I do agree it's longer than it needs to be.
We're going to get into why.
Yeah.
There's also the issues of how they handle the Snoke character and or lack thereof of character, how they basically handle the new characters they are introducing in this, or how they're handling characters that generally just were not handled well. And there's also the issue of the general humor of the film that a lot of people say either undercuts the tone or just makes this movie very, very awkward to actually view. Those are the general issues people have with the movie. And we're gonna beat by beat each one of those.
I can't wait.
But
I mean, one of his biggest ones was the casino.
The casino was
Canto Bite, yeah.
Canto Bite. That is a one that I have a lot of issues with. I have a whole issue with the entire Finn and Rose storyline in general. But
we'll be in the car and I'll be like, the casino.
Fuck the casino. I mean, like we can just get into it like beat by beat, right? Because the movie opens with a fucking Yo Mama joke.
Yes, it does.
Can we just say that a Yo Mama joke is probably not a best way to start your $300 million Star Wars movie?
Yes. However, since I'm assuming we're getting into it now.
We're in.
We're in. I mean, if you want, we can backtrack and talk about Rian Johnson as a director before we get into that. If you need to compose your thoughts.
No, I mean, I like him, but he's a fine filmmaker. But so yes, some of the issues that I do have with Last Jedi is the humor, with a couple of exceptions. I'll name those exceptions to jump around a little bit. The moments that I do find genuinely funny are essentially pretty much when Rey is on the island with Luke, when he gives her that first lesson, and he tells her to reach out, and she physically reaches out, and the look on his face, like, oh shit, this is why I stopped doing this.
And he slaps her
hand. And he's like, oh, it's the Force, and he slaps her. That I love still, because I watched it, and I still laugh at that. And then when she's doing her kind of lightsaber training by herself with the stone, and she cuts the stone, and how that stone just destroys the caretaker's cart, and how they're just standing there. That is a moment that I think is genuinely funny. But the rest of them, I'm like, everything else in it, I'm like, this feels kind of prequel-y humor, which doesn't work for me.
The prequels have a sense of humor that is childlike is what we came to when we talked about them.
The one,
yeah. Well, I mean, Phantom Menace, I think it's a thing that people tend to forget is the Star Wars movies, prequels, original trilogies, whatever, were aimed at young audiences, like children for the most part.
And as much as other people are like, no, it's not. Like,
the Empire is like Citizen Kane in drama.
Just like, sorry, the man himself said it. These are for kids.
Yes.
Like, just, you can bitch, moan, kick, have a temper tantrum yourself as a 40-year-old Star Wars fan, quote unquote. Sorry, he's right. And also them saying Star Wars isn't political. It's always been political.
Yep.
Yeah.
The man himself, in an interview with more of a conversation with James Cameron, said just like, no, like when I wrote Star Wars, it was an allegory for the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Like, just that the Empire was America and the Viet Cong were the rebels.
See,
plain English.
I've heard that, but I feel like that George Lucas kind of retroactively transformed it into being a World War II narrative with the prequels, because the prequels follow more like a Weimar Republic fall, and then that reframes the original trilogy as like a World War II allegory. But here's something interesting. A creative person was like, I want to make a space opera based around war and filtering it through my own imagination. Whereas the Star Wars movies of late are, I am Walt fucking Disney Corporation and I need to make money.
Yes.
I think there's an issue there where the
Disney
Star Wars movies have a very lack of direction as a whole.
It is all over the place. Like, as much as I love Star Wars, to go from, Empire Strikes Back and then to like Episode 1, two different tones for the most part. And then like you watch Andor, which is like one of the darkest Star Wars things that we've gotten in recent time, to then, Little Jedis on Disney Plus. Like, just, it's everywhere. Star Wars is kind of messy.
Yes. I mean, what is it? When me and Becky
Yes.
went to go see this movie in the theaters. Was it for your birthday?
It was for my birthday.
And we went to go see it. We had a lovely time. I'm like, man, we walked out of that theater and I'm like, this is great. Man, this should just be all of Star Wars. This is a wonderful movie. Little did I realize, we just had a wonderful day and I got clouded. The Force clouded my vision.
It wasn't clouded. We sat through dinner kind of quiet, trying to figure out, what did we just watch?
So you kind of had a similar
experience to you, yes.
What did I watch?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm saying that because the tone of the movie is all over the place.
It is.
It's like the Falcon's there, the lightsabers are there.
I like
Chewie's there.
I like Kylo Ren and the Rey stuff.
R2 is there. I'm like, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like I think I'm quoting Jay from Red Letter Media when they talked about it when it came out. I think you said when it came to Last Jedi, it's not a mess, but it's messy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think that's the thing, right? Like, Star Wars has always been kind of messy. I mean, George Lucas literally thought he was only going to make A New Hope, and then it got so big, and he almost like retroactively built a universe out of A New Hope, and even then you can tell Star Wars isn't like Lord of the Rings, where it's a well that'll never end. It's a pond that is infinitely large.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's not very deep. There's just a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it opening with a Yo Mama joke immediately sets this movie into a tone that I do not identify as Star Wars. It almost identifies as Marvel.
Specifically, the Yo Mama part. Again, I don't think it's funny. I think I chuckled in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're going for, I'm okay with, because that is something I feel like Poe would have done, to just because he was stretching out. He was buying time. The Yo Mama part, I'm like, I don't know about that. But it was very Han Solo-ish of him, essentially toying with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that part I'm okay with. But yeah, I do agree, like what I said earlier, the majority of the humor in it doesn't work for me, with a couple of exceptions. But trying to understanding what the purpose of that is, I'm fine with that. I just don't find it particularly funny.
Yeah. I mean, like, we can get out for the beginning of the movie, because after this, like, we finally begin in like media res, because this movie takes place immediately after Force Awakens.
Which is the only time it's happened.
Yeah, every other one there's usually like a couple year gap.
Yeah.
And so right after this, the rebel forces are just on the run nonstop. They're trying to get away from not the Empire, basically Empire, the First Order.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, just call them the fucking Empire. That's what they are.
Yeah.
And Rey's on the island with Luke, and she wants training, yada yada. But what's going on is Poe has this huge dogfight, blows up First Order dreadnought, and this causes conflict because he's like, I'm ignoring General Organa's orders because I'm gonna kill this thing, and then it leads to a whole like Poe having this conflict of, I'm a hothead, but I want to get shit done, and there's like, he has that character arc set up, right? Because I like this section because it's just Star Wars shit. It's just Star Wars dogfighting. It's big action stuff.
Yeah.
But there is an issue with how I find Leia. My issue is with like Poe in general in this movie, is I feel like they're trying to give him a character arc, but I hate everything they're doing with him.
Yeah.
This isn't just me. I hate his interactions with Leia. I hate his interactions with the new commander after Leia gets like set
Commander
down.
Laura Dern.
Commander Laura Dern. Commander Haldo is what I have written down. I think Haldo is legitimately one of the worst characters in the Star Wars canon.
All of them?
All of them. I am no joke. I think she's more poorly written, and I think she is literally a designed character to make this movie function to the detriment of everyone else involved.
I liked her.
I'm not a fan.
I'm fine with her, but like I'm conflicted with her and Poe, because yes, the Poe conflict could have been resolved by a 1-minute conversation with her telling him just like, hey, this is my plan. Even if he, I mean, yeah, he discovers a plan later on, kind of.
But and then it turns out that her plan was awful and failed immediately.
Yeah, so yeah,
that's what this movie is. It's just failures.
What I mean, but another film is about failures.
Yes, we get it. Empire. This is not Empire.
No, I'm not saying it is. Never would I say that. But that is the idea. Is like everyone fucks up, but but also Poe and his being a hothead causes problems that could have been easily avoided. And just so I partially agree with you, but to the point that she's the worst character ever of all Star Wars ever in history, I don't know about that.
Well, okay, maybe not. I might be hyperbolic. Again, this is an entertainment show, you know. But I will say she's the one that made me the most angry, because there's a tropes in like movies, right, where 99% of romantic comedies could be solved if the guy and the girl had an adult conversation for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Yes.
That's what I told you yesterday.
See, yeah, that ain't gonna happen because you wouldn't have a movie. But that's a trope that I absolutely find awful, because it's just like lazy storytelling, because it's like a thing where it's like, oh, the core central conflict could be solved if anyone acted like a normal human being for 10 minutes. Right? This one,
maybe they don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they don't want to. Well, here's the thing. With the Haldo character, because I'm thinking we're just going to structure it. We're going to go through each of the 3 plots, because there's a lot of B plots in this. The Haldo and Poe one, we'll start there. Is Haldo immediately is like, hey, Poe, you're a fucking dumbass. Leia demoted you. You're awful. Leave me alone. And Poe's like, what the fuck? And the whole thing is her argument of, hey, Poe, hey, Haldo, do you have a plan? And she's like, you know what Leia said? There's hope in the darkness. You just have to believe I have a plan. My response is, am I going to die in the fucking vacuum of space, or are we going to live? Can you tell me that much? And she's like, I'm the light in the darkness. Please believe me. I was in Blue Velvet. What the fuck, lady?
Exact quote.
That's exact quote. You know, Laura Dern dropped that in there. She's like, I was also in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Again, I'm being a little hyperbolic, but it's a thing where their interactions with her and Poe, because I know who Poe is. He was in the other movies. I don't know who the fuck this person is. They want us to act like Haldo has been in all the movies up to this point, and we're supposed to care.
Yeah, that is, again, like, and you mentioned this earlier. The biggest issue I have with, essentially the trilogy as a whole is there was no plan.
Yeah,
and that is fine if everyone's on the same page, at least. Like, I feel like, yes, the issues with the trilogy, one person is to blame, and it's not Rian Johnson.
Yes.
It's J.J. Abrams.
I do have an interesting thing I found out. So there has been conflicting accounts of this, but Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, she says she had, when she signed up for Force Awakens, she had scripts for the entire trilogy. J.J. Abrams wrote a script for every movie in the trilogy, but then there's Rian Johnson saying that when he got signed on, J.J. Abrams literally said, do whatever you want. We don't have a script. Here's a vague idea of what we want. So I don't know if it's a thing where there was a script and Rian Johnson just didn't like it, or there was not a script and Daisy Ridley might have been like signed on and was told there were scripts for all of them. I don't know the context, but it does feel like there was not a lot of communications here.
Again, considering, and I don't hate J.J. Abrams. I think he's a fine director if he's given a proper script.
Not a fan of the mystery box.
I'm fine with the mystery box if you handle it well.
If you know what's in the box when you start.
If you even if you have no intention of telling anyone what's in the box, as long as you know what's in the box, I think that's what's important. I mean, looking at using Lynch as a prime example, like I feel like most of the time he probably knows what's in the box, but he doesn't give a shit of telling us directly. We either have to figure it out or put our own interpretation to it.
Yes, J.J. Abrams, the modern Lynch. Yes,
exactly, the modern Lynch. So I liked the mysteries of and I liked the Force Awakens. Yes, is it a retreading of A New Hope? Absolutely.
The argument we had for the Force Awakens last week was Is it like A New Hope? Yeah. Is that a bad thing? No, not really. It's fun Star Wars.
And there's enough new stuff in there that I still love. Like Kylo. I love Kylo. Probably one of the strongest things of the trilogy is Kylo.
I'd agree with that.
And I love Rey up until the last one. I ignored for the most part.
To reiterate a point we have said, we could not get a single human being to defend Rise of the Skywalker. Not of one.
I'm sorry, there's nothing to defend, and J.J. Abrams got literally the worst screenwriter in Hollywood, I think, or one of the worst. You could have picked anyone else, and you got the guy that co-wrote Batman v Superman. As soon as I saw that he was a screenwriter, I'm like, oh no, God, please. Like, and that's
I'm thinking of a meme of just the guy on the beach yelling, "Oh God, oh man, oh God, oh
that
man."
That was it. Because I was like, who's writing the last one? So I had J.J. Abrams, and then that guy who I will not utter. Actually, was Chris Terrio? Is that his name?
I don't remember. I literally thought you were talking about David S. Goyer, but I'm like, wait, no, he was a co-writer on that. I don't think he was the main writer.
No.
Besides the point.
Yes.
Last
Jedi. Again, I do think it's weird that The Force Awakens is very
cookie cutter,
corporate,
safe.
Yeah, just like the whole boardroom was on board, and then The Last Jedi comes, like, we're just gonna give it to this guy, just let him do whatever the fuck he wants. So, and I feel like, considering the limitations and how The Force Awakens left off, Ryan only had so much to work with, and he only had so much time. Because I do feel like it's rushed.
Yeah, because when was Force Awakens released? Was it 2015?
That was 2015.
And this was 2017?
17.
Yeah.
So
I told you it was really fast turnover.
Very fast.
And it does feel like they were getting notes on release date before like they even started production on this. Yeah. That feels like a thing that happened. But I mean, it's one of those things where I think it is fascinating that, you know, whoever is in charge of this is like, we have spent $7 billion to get the rights to Star Wars. Whatever that number was, bajillions of dollars.
They just wanted to just
crank him out, right? But it's a thing where it's like, man, we're going to put $300 million into each movie. Enough money, mind you, that you could probably make 10 or 20 like mid-budget like dramas that would make your money back out of this. Totally fine. You make all that money, and then J.J. Abrams is like, corporate, whatever, this is what we're doing, perfect. And then you're like, Rian Johnson, the guy that did Looper and Brick and no other movies up to that point. Yeah. Let's just give it to him. Could you imagine you have $300 million and you're just like,
I'd
here,
be terrified.
Terrified.
Like, and I've been asked, like, would I make a Star Wars movie? Absolutely not. I love Star Wars. I'm sorry, but no. Like, I would, like, you need to give me 10 years to make one film, one Star Wars movie. And they're going to say no. They're like, no, you have a year and a half. No, sorry.
Because no matter what you give, people are going to fucking hate it.
No, it's just, that's the thing. Like, when I said earlier, like, everyone needs to calm the fuck down. Just, I feel like I say this with, like, games. Like with like World of Warcraft, one of my favorites. Like, every time, it's like Star Wars is like, it's the same every time a new thing comes out, everybody hates it, and then the people that love it just have to kind of be quiet and go over here to their corner, which is me. Like, I'm just like, I like Star Wars, I'm gonna stay over here and be safe and not unless it's brought up with people that I like being around. I ain't talking about Star Wars. I love it all. Good, bad, whatever.
Star Wars has fallen into, in polite company, you don't talk about religion, politics, or sex. You just don't talk about it.
It's like that because people lose their fucking minds. And I'm like, can we just acknowledge, like I said, Star Wars has been cheesy since day one. Just smoke some pot and just enjoy it. Like, you know, just like I said, with World of Warcraft, a new expansion comes out, people bitch about it. And I'm like,
you're going to play it.
Like, just like, do some quests, get high, have a drink, just relax, just calm down. It's cheesy, it's fine. Like, just, but again, as always, going everywhere. Back to the
Poe Haldo story, right?
The Poe Haldo sting. I am of two minds of it. In execution, I have issues, but knowing what they were trying to go off. Just these two hardheads. Just no. They're just like, no, I'm not gonna talk to you.
This is
No.
why we need a video
Like, just
podcast.
like,
Thomas is like throwing fucking down right now.
So just like just like they're both like, no, I don't like you. No, I don't like you. Even though they both kind of admire each other at the same time, they're just both being stubborn assholes. Like how you said, just like, why can't people just have a sit down and have an adult conversation? You're asking people to have an adult conversation. Do you know how rare that is in real life?
I do it
Let
all the
alone
time.
Imaginary people.
Imaginary people.
I guess it is a thing where I ask too much.
I can count on one hand all my 41, soon to be 42 years on this planet where someone has sat down and had an adult conversation with another human being.
To settle a conflict.
Yes, to settle a conflict. Like, oh, gada. Okay. And then, oh, conflict resolved, or I agree to disagree and we're moving on. Like, just
but here's
that doesn't happen. Humans aren't like that. Come on.
I'm like that. I mean, okay, look, it is a thing where sure I might be. It's
okay. So
my issue.
Wait, hang on. Before you continue,
sure.
As he's saying, I'm like that. because Becky's sitting next to me right now. My peripheral vision, I'm seeing little things. I'm like, she's like, I don't know about that. Like,
oh, Becky over there loves throwing me under the bus.
Okay. And I didn't even have to say anything.
No, it was all just visual. I'm
okay,
like, I see this shit. We all have our flaws.
Sure, I get it. The flaws, and I get that. My issue, I guess, is the fact that within the confines of the movie, how the character of Holdo interacts with Poe is the first interaction she comes off as a villain.
Yes,
right? Her first interaction is villain, right? Yes. And that's supposed to be a thing where, Poe is at conflict with Holdo, and that's going to be our conflict on the ship, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we're eventually going to have Luke has conflict, or Rey has conflict with Luke because he doesn't want to do it, so there's conflict there. And then you have the Rose and Finn conflict on that whole thing. We'll get into that. That's the bad part of this movie. We'll get into that. But the thing on the ship...
I told you, he shakes his fist at Casino every time.
Every fucking time. But the thing is with, like, the Holdo Poe thing is that I feel she is a villain for no real reason because the conflict is, are we going to survive? Because there's a giant monster behind us, so we're all working together to keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. I mean, if she just said, like, sorry, Poe, I don't want to tell you, there's a spy on the ship, so... I don't want to get through.
I do agree.
I thought that would have been a better work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do agree with you on that. Because like I said, like...
concept is good, execution is bad.
Yes, in that regard. In a couple things. But again, I guess in a way, the same thing can be said about a lot of the prequel trilogy as well. So, as much as we all love George, not a good writer, not a great writer.
He's a very competent director. Competent is a strong word.
Competent's a strong word. He's okay. At best.
I hate sand.
I hate sand.
And he himself even said, according to David Lynch, he doesn't like directing because he went to Lynch for
it was a Jedi
for Return of the Jedi,
and
Lynch had this wonderful there's no way I can he got a migraine. It was great, but
we can take a quick sidebar to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, George fucking Lucas. Do I like George Lucas? Absolutely. I think he's a very creative mind. I think he's very strange in what he likes to focus on, but I think he made a couple of the best movies ever made.
I agree.
Or at least one of the most influential movies ever, and I don't even think it's Star Wars. Or sorry, I don't think his best movie is Star Wars. I think American Graffiti is his best movie.
I agree with you on that. And I love THX 1138 too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean again and I'm repeating what Irvin Kershner said about George Lucas because Irvin Kershner was George Lucas's one of his film professors, and George
was also the director of Empire.
Yeah, he directed Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars movie ever made.
Thank you.
Suck it, George.
Well, just there's this wonderful kind of interview that Kershner had years ago where he talks about when Lucas came to him to direct Empire, and Kershner was like, no. Just I've never directed a blockbuster before, and also I don't need you breathing over my neck. you need to let me make my picture. And George was like, no, I don't even want to be in London. I'll fuck off. I don't want to. And then I think he said after a few drinks, he talked him into it. And then he even talked about George when he was his student. Just like he wasn't a good cameraman, wasn't really a good writer, but he had great vision.
Yes.
And Lucas is amazing, like mind-blowing at vision. And he's also, I kind of relate him to Walt Disney a bit, because Walt was also great at vision, but what he was really good at was producing and getting the right people for the job.
Yeah.
And that's what George excels at, I feel, like, because he does get shit done. And he did that for like a lot. I mean, of course, in the prequel trilogy, he had a lot of yes men by then.
I think the issue with the prequels is he almost got forced to direct those because he wanted to try and get Spielberg to direct them.
Yes,
and Spielberg said, no, George, it would ruin our friendship and I would kill you. Then he was like, what about Coppola? And Coppola was like, no. George, I would literally murder you.
Like it's weird considering
how like dog-eared and sad.
Well, just
George
like
Lucas is,
I don't. So I don't know if you probably do know the story behind the making of A New Hope and how much of a train wreck it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they were all friends for a long time, like, and including Brian De Palma, who like shot all over.
Brian De Palma did a pass on the fucking script.
Yeah, like
because he was like, George, I really don't think you can do this.
No, and according to Spielberg in several interviews when they were all shown essentially a rough cut of Star Wars of A New Hope, like I think Spielberg said Brian went off the deep end. Like, this makes no sense. Who's the hair? He just went off on Star Wars, and he said he looked over at George and George's face was red, and he said he looked like he wanted to kill him. But like I believe even eventually once everyone calmed down, the opening crawl was originally a mess. It was way too long, and it's just so much. It was this exposition, and
it tried to explain the entire lore of Star Wars,
including the Sith, the yada yada. And it was De Palma who helped rewrite the crawl to what we see today. So everyone helped him. Like, this movie is a train wreck. Like, there's a great video for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's been on YouTube for years. It's called How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit. In case you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough. I go back and rewatch it just because I love it so much. And it shows how bad Star Wars was. It was horrible. Like, if we got that version, we wouldn't even got an Empire. Like, we wouldn't have Star Wars anymore. Yeah. It'd be this shitty B movie that was just a mess and boring.
Somebody 30 years later would look back and be like, I really liked that as a kid. You know, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Like, just like it's, again, I can't get into it because it's only a 20-minute video, but it covers so much. It was him and his wife and the two other editors that saved Star Wars. Like, they recut it. Like, one little tidbit about A New Hope, in case you didn't know, and it's mentioned in this video, the Death Star sequence at the end, originally, the Death Star, the Empire, was not about to blow up the moon of Yavin. The Death Star was just there, and the Empire and the Rebels showed up and just killed everyone. That wasn't in the. That was yes, I know. You're looking at me like, what? That wasn't it.
That's like one of the core.
Yes. Oh. So, and then people at the time were like, his best collaborator, his wife, was like, we need to rework all this. So the thing is that all the shots and the cuts that we have today of the Rebel base, all of the dialogue is off camera for a reason.
Because they had to redo it in the edit.
The Empire, because they recut all of that to make it so, time's at stake now. We're about to get killed. Now there's a reason that we're defending ourselves.
Now, the reason I think it's a good thing to bring up the George Lucas of the thing, right? The vision, the this, the that, the fact that the original Star Wars was a fucking mess, and it took a lot of hands and collaboration to get it to be what it is. And even the fact that George Lucas knew that I can't do the rest of these, I'm going to hand it off to people who are more experienced and better than me. I feel J.J. Abrams had the same idea of, I want to do what George Lucas did. I lay the groundwork. I'll produce the rest of them. I'll lay it off to the next batch of hands, right? But I feel like when Rian Johnson got it, he was given a lot more. He wasn't given it by like George Lucas, because George Lucas is a very hands-on producer. He was given it by J.J. Abrams, whose probably philosophy was, you do you, brother. Just have a grand old time in the Star Wars universe. And Rian Johnson's like, so I can just do whatever the fuck I want. He's like, yeah, basically. And did whatever the fuck he wanted. And it's also the thing where, like, I feel like Rian Johnson is not a Kirshner, as it were. Or, like, he's not the guy that directed, like, Empire, right?
No.
That's a much different thing, because I think Rian Johnson only did like 2 or 3 films before this, like Brick and Looper,
which is a common thing today, not just with Star Wars, with like any major franchise. Like, well, let's get this independent filmmaker who's made 2 tiny films that are good, and let's just give them these giant franchises and give them $300 million, which is weird. I mean, would I jump to that deal depending on what it is? Yeah, I would. But just think of, thinking of Taika Waititi as an example, and James Gunn, another example. It's just like, it's weird seeing that, because they're like, oh, we got to get someone. Oh, we'll get independent guys so we can kind of just
do the thing.
Yeah. So, and it works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes,
Like I don't like the Jurassic World movies at all. I think they're terrible. But like, again, to bounce around a little bit, I do wish that Colin Trevorrow did get to do the third of the new trilogy, because he at least was, okay, I'm going to work with what Ryan did, and I'll go from there. Instead of what they ended up doing was doing a lot of backpedaling and just making shit up and just making it worse.
See, and I think there's something there, right?
Yeah.
With, Jurassic World, what have you. But for Star Wars, it's almost like Rian Johnson was afraid to progress because he didn't know what was coming after. Because a lot of this movie feels like wheel spinning. Like getting back to like the Poe Haldo thing, it's like, this is a conflict that really isn't bearing any plots. I wonder if that's why Haldo's created. So they couldn't have like Leia do it, which would have been more impactful, or Akbar do it, which would be more impactful, because they're characters we know.
Yeah.
She's a creative character for this, because it's like, oh, when she sacrifices herself at the end, if somebody wants to use Akbar or Leia in the next movie, they're good to go.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's one of those things where it's almost like he was writing these conflicts with these characters for the guy coming after him, right? Because the Haldo Poe thing, like, I think we can agree, concept good, execution bad.
Yes.
Let's move on to what happens that spins out of that. The Finn Rose stuff. Rose, another new character, who I think is unjustly hated by the fandom.
Yes.
I don't get why people hate her.
I mean, we know why people hate her, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I think it's a completely unjusted for people to hate the actress. The character, I can only hazard, because like she doesn't contribute to the progression of the overall plot, because the casino stuff, because the codebreaker stuff doesn't amount to progression of what's going on. Am I like wrong on this? Because it's like they go to the codebreaker's to like take down the tractor beam or whatever the fuck, and then they find out that they get betrayed and there's a fight, but at the end of the day they don't do anything, right?
My feelings on Canto Bight is, I do think it goes on longer than it needs to be. But I am okay with the general message of it. I like, again, going into Canto Bight, the whole like, I want to put my fist through this whole beautiful town, and seeing
how do the rich people get rich in Star Wars.
I mean, that mirrors real life.
How they're contributing to the war.
Yeah, just like, and I
love that. I love when they the Benicio del Toro shows them. It's like, yeah, he sold the TIE fighters to the Empire. The guy also sold X-Wings to you guys.
Yeah, just like, I like that. I'm like, oh shit, like, because that's pretty much how things work in the real world, unfortunately. And but I mean, I always saw the Rose, Tico, and Finn thing of kind of a version of never meet your heroes, especially in the beginning when they meet. Like, she has this like, oh, you're the Finn, you're the hero, you're one of the heroes of the, which again, this guy
they found out his name 2 days ago.
Yes.
In context.
Yeah, but I mean,
she is fangirling out of the guy that just got signed to be the backup dancer to NSYNC.
Yeah, because in such a short amount of time, he did quite a bit.
And it's also Star Wars. You
also
never
Star
know when your
Wars.
ship's gonna get blown up. You gotta, fangirl while you have the opportunity.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
so-
I think the romance that she tries to initiate is weird.
That
We could die tomorrow.
again, like skipping way ahead to essentially the end. Her line that she says to him, I think is stupid.
I also think her actions there are dumb.
Yes,
We can talk. You want to just talk about that right now?
we're talking about the characters, so why not?
Okay, so the Rose character, I'm gonna say I agree with you. Her being somebody who was raised and kind of like enslaved by the Empire, First Order.
First Order.
First Order. I'm gonna fuck this up a lot. The First Order to like build and do this. Like I'm like, okay, good characterization.
Yeah.
She has a reason. She's not like the Luke or the Reys or the Jedis or whatever.
She's literally a nobody. That works in like the warehouse.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
also a thing where I'm like, okay, now I see why the Empire and the First Order are bad. Because they
Yes.
are doing this to the downtrodden people of the galaxy. Awesome, cool, I agree with you. But at the end of the movie, Finn is in like one of those little sand speeders or whatever, and he's gonna blast his way into their tractor beam that's gonna knock out the wall to kill the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thing where I'm like, oh my god,
Witness me.
It's a witness me thing.
and I'm like, Rian Johnson has the balls to kill one of the main characters of the franchise in the second fucking movie and make his death fucking mean something. If he dies blowing up this tractor beam to save the entire rebellion, he turns into an Obi-Wan figure of, I will become more powerful. If you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Because he turns into a martyr, a beacon of hope. They find out, but Rose is like, I don't want you to die, so I'm going to crash into you doing Mach 5.
My
in public-
boyfriend, no.
My boyfriend, no.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and kill us both instead of saving the rebellion. And then she's like, we're not going to win by killing those we hate, but by saving those we love. As the tractor beam blasts open the rebel
and then
force.
she kisses him, and even he's like, huh?
He's like, bitch, I've known you for 3 hours.
Yeah, and just like he and I'm just like specifically on that line, I'm like, that's what he was fighting, what he
That's what he
hated
was doing.
Mhm.
to save what he loved. But I also the way she went about it was not really thought out, obviously.
Yes. Impulsive.
It was very
and-
impulsive.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I understand why she did that. Because let's be honest. Do we really think that what he was trying to do would have done anything against essentially the equivalent of
A mini Death
of
Star
a mini
tractor.
Death Star?
Yeah.
Well-
This little rinkety thing flying right into that, would that have done anything? I
Well,
don't think it would have.
Here's the thing is, we won't know because it didn't happen.
Yes, that's
And
true.
the other thing is, we also, this movie...
I like how you had to check your notes for that.
Yeah.
I did have to check. I looked, I'm like, just let you know, we won't know because it didn't fucking
it
happen.
didn't happen.
But the other thing is, I mean, we now know that if you just blast at light speed at something, you just blow it up. Which now I'm like, why hasn't the rebellion started kamikazing Imperial dreadnoughts?
Because they don't have the resources.
It's very expensive.
And that ship was already running out of fuel and it was going to get destroyed anyway. That was a last-ditch effort to just slow them down.
Well, it blew up the dreadnought, and then it blew up all 8 ships around it.
It didn't blow up, from what I recall, it didn't blow up all of them, but it did
Cripple the shit out of them all.
Well, it crippled the shit out of all of them. I mean, I love that moment.
Oh, it looks cool as fuck.
It's amazing. And that's executed perfectly, I think, versus like some other stuff. Like, I remember seeing that in theater because how often do you get silence in Star Wars?
Yeah.
Very few.
And that's when you use silence well. Just like, I remember the just gasps in the theater because we've never seen anything like that before. So, but
again, that one's just a nitpicky thing.
Yes,
it's
like,
mostly like just
like there's no sound in space. Who gives a shit? Like,
oh no! I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like, nitpicky. You could just light speed into it. Whatever.
Yeah,
That's just like a nitpicky thing. I'm like, Star Wars. It's about magic space wizards. I'm talking about the character here of like Finn sacrificing himself. That would mean something.
I see. That's the
Rose
thing.
saving him
I agree.
just makes it be like, oh, you are now taking his character agency away from him. And then it's like, well, what the hell? And then it ends up with her almost like dying. where I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot of logical leaps to make this moment work, and each one creates a poorer resolution for Finn.
See, I feel like, because I do feel like, in general, trilogy overall, Finn could have been, especially in the third.
You want to just say Finn gets shafted?
Especially almost everyone gets shafted in the third one, but pretty much everyone does, with maybe kind of the exception of Kylo Ren.
Doesn't Rose only have like 90 seconds of screen time in the third
She
one?
might as well not be in the movie.
It's like she's walking on down the hallway, like, oh, there's Rose.
Yeah, like, oh, there she goes. Like, just like, but I mean, I understand. I feel like some people get their pennies in a twist, like, oh, she took this away from him, and then I'm like, all right, but would that have fucking done anything to begin with? Like, just like, I feel like in her very impulsive decision to stop him from doing that was like, what are you doing? This isn't going to make a dent. You're not going to stop it by this little rinkety-dink falling apart piece of shit kind of ship.
We're just going to lose another great person.
Giant, like, you're going to die for no reason.
This X-Wing dropping a bomb the size of a football in the Death Star isn't going to do damn thing.
That's different.
Is it really?
It is, because I mean,
look, you can see where I'm coming from. Where I'm like, there's definitely like a character we don't know because it didn't happen.
Yes, but
he
again,
definitely believed it.
Yes, well, sticking with the lore, including Rogue One, which I have issues with, motherfuckers.
Everyone else is like, Rogue One's the only good Disney one. You're just like, Rogue One's the worst one.
No, it's not the worst one, but it's
Rise of Skywalker exists.
Rise of Skywalker exists. But I mean, my overall review of Rogue One is it's fine. But when I saw it in theaters, I was bored, except for the last 30 minutes. I feel like everyone rides the high of the last 30 minutes and just equates that to the whole movie. Like, do we know any of the characters in Rogue One, the new characters outside of K2SO, that we have a deep emotional attachment to?
Nope.
Fucking, I don't know. I haven't seen that movie since the fucking theater.
Okay, so again, Rogue One's fine. I rewatch it. I enjoy it. It's Star Wars. There's cool stuff in it.
It's part of the Star Wars marathon.
It's part of Star Wars marathon. Yeah, I'll watch it, and I like how it ended. But so again, including Rogue One, and your argument for the whole one torpedo's not going to do a thing. That was literally a weakness that was built into it. So that's all it takes is one little hit. That would otherwise be any other thing be completely useless.
Again, we can argue about the logic of it. We can argue about the logic of it. Again, it's about space wizards. My argument is as a character moment.
Yeah.
Finn legitimately sacrificing himself would have meant so much to this movie.
And
it
I
would
agree.
have definitely changed the entire feel of this movie. It would have made it mean something, because let's be honest, we lost Han in Force Awakens. In this one, we lose Luke. Right? And then may she rest in peace, we actually lose Carrie Fisher in the production of this, I believe.
I think it was like right after.
It was like right after she wrapped, right?
Yeah.
It was when it released.
Oh, was it like the day of release?
She passed in December.
You're right. Yeah.
Which,
it was like,
it was weeks before,
May she rest in peace. She was like a phenomenal.
As I say, to me, she'll always be royalty. Quoting Force Awakens.
And to say one thing, I will say when Luke says, no one's ever really gone, and she says it to Leia in the movie, I'm like, I get fucking chills. That's a little too real.
I've used that in real life, that exact quote.
But again, besides the point, the thing with it, like killing off Finn and that being a thing where I'm like, oh, would establish no one is safe. Because Finn, I liked Finn. I'm like, can this guy be the lead for the actual Jedi that's going to save everything? Can he be the lead for the rest of these? Like, is he going to become a Jedi? Is it going to be a thing? Is that why he's doing this?
Is he going to be a leader of the Resistance?
But killing him, and then it'd be a thing where I'm like, okay, now Poe would see that his rash actions actually can get people killed. Rey would now have a new, thing of being like, he's the symbol. She's like, I am not going to be the symbol of the Resistance. Finn is. It's a thing where it's like, that would change the entire structure and scope of the Disney Star Wars movies and make it matter more. And the fact that Rose saves him, which, awesome, I like John Boyega. He gets nothing to do in the next movie, so it really didn't turn out well for him.
He does the next movie, he screams Rey over and over again.
It's almost like him dying in The Last Jedi would have meant more for his character.
So a lot of the things I'm almost two minds of some things like the Hondo and Poe thing. I'm of two minds of it. Like, I'm like, yes, on one end, a lot.
Her interactions are not good.
Yes,
with
her
Poe.
interactions with, but also his interactions with her aren't good, and just them, just like as you said, having a conversation, like just like, okay, this is my plan. Okay,
Cool. Can you
He's
not
like-
mute me?
he's-
Thank you.
yeah, and he's like, I don't like that. I think it's stupid, but whatever. You're in charge. Conflict would have been avoided, but that I feel like that's also because they're just two hotheads that are just at each other.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm of two minds of them. Like, I understand the logic. Like, okay, this could be cleared up pretty easily, but because they're both essentially alike, they're both hotheads and both stubborn.
Mhm.
That creates conflict that doesn't need to be there. One failure. That's why I'm of two minds of it.
Mhm.
And the whole, and then going with the whole, especially Finn sacrificing himself, or at least that's his plan, to attempt to stop the essentially the miniaturized Death Star tech. I'm of two minds of it. Like, I understand, yes, that if a big if it went out that way, if he, because we don't know obviously because
Sure.
it panned out this way, because I don't think him doing that would have made a dent. They
Mhm.
would like the operators of that ship, like, what was that? Like,
Yeah,
they
I
would-
get
yeah.
it. Honestly, with the humor in this
Yeah.
movie, he does it. They look down and like, the fuck
Imagine
was
if
that?
imagine if that happened. You see a little spot. They just like wave this giant thing. Like, you're the operator. And you just sing. You see, tick. What was that? Did you guys hear that? Whatever. Like just like what? And this big dramatic for comedic reasons.
Mhm.
Imagine if Johnson had the balls to do that. This whole big dramatic thing. He goes in, he dies. Did you guys hear that? What was that? Like,
Again,
just yeah.
That could have been another
Did someone
one.
unplug me?
That could have been another one of those choke up on the bat and swing for the fences moment where it's just, it really pinpoint a moment like in Empire Strikes Back, sure, where it's like it's really hopeless.
Yeah.
Like, they are so beaten
They're-
down,
they're
it's
fucked.
really hopeless. That could have even been a thing where they could have done it. If he crashes in and Poe's like,
It doesn't do anything.
if Poe looks and he's like, Finn did it, he crashed, and it's like flickers off and then it just comes back on.
Mhm.
He's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Imagine
no.
the balls to do that. That would have been great.
Again, concept's good. He didn't follow through.
He didn't follow through because he was stopped, I feel, for a reason.
Mhm.
Was he stopped in the best way? No. It was impulsive. She was risking essentially both of their lives to do that. But she was stopping him. She was probably like she, you know,
I want that John Boyega dick. I don't want him to die.
yeah. I mean, you know, she says, "I saved you, dummy," and I'm like, yeah, the delivery is kind of cheesy, but like, she was essentially to me telling him, like, did you think that was going to do anything? Because it
Mhm.
probably wasn't. Like,
If she said that,
yes, I
that would
agree.
have worked.
Like, just like that wasn't gonna help.
Yeah.
Like, just like
You're gonna sacrifice yourself, and this thing's not gonna do anything.
it's
dumbass.
you're gonna create a spark, and that's it. Like, you're gonna and then you're gonna get evaporated, and that's it. And then it's gonna blow through the door anyway. So that's why I'm of two minds of that. I'm like, I understand how. Again, I agree. The especially if it worked. Let's just pretend
It works.
he did that and it works and it blows it up. Yes, that would have been amazing for the character.
And then Rose is now handed the torch of like,
Yes.
you're gonna be the beacon that's gonna pound the drum of Finn.
Yeah,
he was the
yeah.
true hero.
Yeah,
He's
so-
not a Jedi. He's not a pilot. He was some guy
Yeah.
that laid his life down for the rebellion. Almost like her character would have meant something in the rest of the
Yes.
franchise.
Yeah, I mean, but her journey with Finn, I'm fine with
Mhm.
overall, because again, just like it's a never meet your heroes thing. She had this whole big grand idea of the great Finn, who, yes, like how long do we think the events of the Force Awakens took? A week,
Maybe.
pushing,
Probably, yeah.
no more than 7 days, probably. A lot happens.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the only reason we're focusing on the ending is because that's really the only place I feel that the Rose character actually has a conceivable thing of people having a problem with.
Yeah.
Like, everything else, she's fine. She's like, I like her. She's
Yeah.
a good like
Mhm.
addition
Yeah.
to the cast. I think what she symbolizes is good. But how this movie ends, her climactic, like, quote unquote hero moment, that's where I think people have issue.
I feel like, and I'm not gonna not make a blanket statement here, but I think there are some people that are like, oh, this woman took away this man's moment. How
Mhm.
dare she?
Exactly.
And that's stupid. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. If that's your thinking.
There was
of
a
this.
large section of why people hated The Last Jedi that I did not include because of that reason.
Yes. So, and I'm like, those people can fuck off as far as I'm concerned, this is a controversial take. I feel like if you're spending most of your time bitching about Star Wars, are you a Star Wars fan? I know there's a popular saying, no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is some truth to that. So, and I'm just like, again, can we all just calm the fuck down and just take it for what it is?
Like, my entire idea is if you can make arguments that are legitimately motivated by the characters and their actions and nothing to do with the look of the actors, then I will then I will sit here and I will listen to your opinion.
Otherwise, woke it clicked.
You lost me, dude. You lost me.
I thought we were gonna have a conversation, but yeah, I again with the whole Rose, and because I like Rose, I like Finn. Could more have been done with him? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the new things in Force Awakens that we haven't seen yet. A stormtrooper, oh shit, he doesn't like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just need to get the fuck away. And that kind of continues, but not really. I feel like people were equating him trying to jump ship in the beginning of Last Jedi as him running away more. It isn't. He's just trying to find Rey because he cares about Rey.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rose thinking that, he's trying to jump ship, but he's not. And he's trying to explain it to her, but she's just not listening because she's just discovered, my hero is a fucking coward. And he's trying to duck, but then they kind of come around. I do feel like more could have been done, but again, I do feel this as much as I do like this movie, it does feel rushed. Which, again, makes me wonder, what if they gave Ryan one more year to write the script?
Just a little longer work.
It's a little longer, the whole production. I would have waited another year.
Yeah.
But, I still miss the days where Star Wars was, super special. Holy shit, we had to wait, 5 years for another one. The prequel trilogy, we didn't get these 2-year gaps from what I recall. What were the gaps in between
Jedi and Phantom Menace was almost 15 years.
Well, I mean, minus that.
Well, I'm just equating that just to give a full spectrum, because I think the distance between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones was probably 2 or 3. No, I think it was 3 because it came out in 2002, I believe, and then it was probably 3 to get to Revenge of the Sith.
Yes,
there was 3-year gaps, but you also got to remember that Lucas had all the scripts and everything done. He almost filmed those in continuity or in one's production.
Phantom Menace came out in '99.
Mm-hmm.
Attack of the Clones 2002.
Damn, I'm good.
And then Revenge of the Sith 2005.
Okay, so 3-year gaps, which
again,
and that's why Revenge of the Sith is a lot better than Clones and Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So I feel like some more time in between, but again, Disney being who they are, as much as I am a Disney fan in general, I have my issues with them. They're just we gotta make a new Marvel stuff because that was so good. Marvel started off slow.
Yeah.
People
don't remember the distance between Iron Man and the next Marvel movie was a couple years.
Yeah, it wasn't every year, but eventually they kind of got it down to a decent science. Yeah, things started kind of falling apart post Endgame, but I still like Marvel movies. It's fine. They're not all masterpieces, but it's kind of similar with how I feel about Star Wars now. All of these aren't going to be Citizen Kane. Just
let's be real here.
Let's be real here.
New Hope changed cinema. Empire managed to top it in the emotional resonance of the audience. Return of the Jedi managed to cap it off in a satisfactory way.
Yes.
Dan, that was a really great trilogy. We don't really need more.
Yes.
That's the resolution of Star Wars.
Pretty much, but we got more, and I was happy, and I'm still happy that we have more. Is all of it created equal? No. But I've enjoyed all of it. Anytime there's a new Star Wars thing, I watch it. Is some of it better? Yes. Is some of it that was good. Okay, I move on. I don't watch it again. That's kind of what I'm limited to. But I do rewatch when I do okay, it's time to rewatch Star Wars. I'll rewatch the original trilogy, then I'll watch the prequels, and then I'll watch the sequels.
Minus The Last Jedi. Minus Rise of Skywalker.
Minus, The last time I did do a full rewatch, I did watch Rise of Skywalker, but I got high.
And then I got high.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I got high.
Yeah,
and then I got high.
I was like, all right, I know what I'm in for. But
It's time to party.
yeah, it's time to party. Like I need to watch this not sober.
Okay, but the Rose Finn stuff, right? Because that's another issue people have with the movie. The conclusion you came to is it the same thing with the Haldo Poe thing? Good concept, bad execution, or is this doesn't follow through with what it's trying to do? Because that's how I feel. Is they're setting up the Finn sacrifice. Rose is gonna take on the and carry his spirit into the next movies, and they just don't follow through with it.
Yeah, especially if we're including the third one, they don't really follow through with it. But like I said, I'm of two minds of it. Like I understand both sides of the argument. I understand. Yes, it would have been very meaningful considering Finn's arc up to that point if he did sacrifice himself and if he did stop the thing. But also I feel like that would have robbed from Luke's what Luke does soon after, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna come right after this.
That's what we're getting to the big one. But also, like I said, but also I understand why Rose did what she did. Like, what was that going to do? Like, just like even if, let's say he missed, like one of those walkers would have just blew him up anyway. Like, just what was that going to do? So, and an argument can be said like, why weren't they firing at him to begin with? So, like more Star Wars-y logic leaps, plot armor. It's
a movie about space wizards.
It's a movie about space wizards. It's been like this since the beginning. Like, oh, why didn't they do? Okay, why didn't they? Okay, they could have done this. All right, it's Star Wars. Just like you said, movie about space wizards.
Yeah,
and
But it's now time to get to the section, the third plot of this movie that you will defend to your dying breath.
Absolutely,
the Luke Rey arc. Which I'm going to surprise you with something, Thomas.
All right.
This is the best part of the movie by far. I wish the entire movie was just Rey and Luke. It's by far the best part. I love what they do with Luke's character. I think how they get there is weird and doesn't play, but what actually is going on between them is great.
I remember you thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, before we did this, before you rewatched it.
Yes.
Didn't you feel differently about that?
I will say, I think looking back on it, I thought, man, this is such a different Luke than what we had in Return of the Jedi, right?
Even Mark Hamill had an issue with this version of Luke.
Initially.
Yeah.
I mean, Boo, or Becky, sorry.
It's okay.
The nice pretty lady who sits across from me in the podcast. When we watched Return of the Jedi yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Luke at the end of that movie, what are we feeling? Full of hope. He sees the good in Darth Vader. End of it, happy. He's the hero fulfilled, right?
He's the hero fulfilled, but he's also the hero that's just been through war. He's not the same Luke that we had at A New Hope.
No,
this is a new version of Luke.
He's completed his arc, and at the end of Jedi, I'm like, he's completed his arc. He's hardened veteran, but he saw the good in Darth Vader and manages to save the day. And then when we see him in Last Jedi, I was like, that's not the Luke from the end of Jedi who had like this hope and like yada yada. I don't like this. But then I believe it was another conversation we had where you're like, he did exactly what Yoda did, exactly what Ben Kenobi did. Things got hard. He didn't know how to process it and he ran away. And you know what? You're fucking right. That's exactly what Luke would do because that follows the trend of every other Jedi we've seen through the trilogies or through the saga. Things get hard. He doesn't know how to process it because he's, just been through war. He doesn't know how to deal with the fact that his nephew or whoever has betrayed him. So he just runs off and is just like, fuck it. And that also gets to why the Kylo Ren thing of like, this is all bullshit. Just let it burn to the ground and we'll just figure something else. Fuck all of this.
Yeah.
Fuck the Empire. Fuck the Jedi. Fuck the Sith. Rey lets you and me start a new galaxy, build some dams, and go make babies. Fuck it. Let it die. Which I'm like, Kylo, this is why you're my favorite character in this goddamn trilogy. Let this fucking burn. But
I thought it was going to be the sweet thigh grab.
That was pretty strong. No, it's the abs
Yeah.
of Kylo that we see, It is hilarious to me
scene.
that is another beat where she's like, "Can you just put a cowl on or something?" That one of the moments that actually got a smile out of me. Not a laugh, but a smile.
That's true. Yes,
but it's a thing where his character I like. How he gets there, I dislike. Where he's like, "I see the darkness in Kylo, so I must kill him," and I'm like, "You last time we saw you was." There's light inside of you, Darth Vader, even though you've genocided thousands of planets. There's some hope in you. That's where I have issue.
So here's my argument for that. So I think, first of all, because we get 3 different versions of what happens in that hut between Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker. We get Luke's initial side where he just like walked in, no, don't kill me. And then we get Kylo's version, which is he was gonna just strike me down.
Yes.
But then we get the real version, which is Luke had a moment, and he's had that moment before with his father. So how did he defeat Darth Vader? He lost his fucking shit. All it took was a little tug from old Anakin there was him just mentioning it. Just all it took was just Luke is just hiding in the dark, doesn't want to fight his father, because yes, he sees the good in him, and he's right, which is amazing. But he's just like, I don't want to fight you. I'm just gonna be here and be quiet. But
when he brings up Leia,
but he brings up Leia. That's all it takes, because that's all essentially Luke has left. I mean, when it comes to family, like. Because he's just trying to bring this other guy back who's been essentially just gone for almost 20 years. And it just takes that little tug like, oh, if you're not going to, if you won't turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will. And he screams and he defeats the big bad that no one, I mean, there have been, if we watch, Clone Wars, Rebels, even Kenobi, people have gotten close to defeating him, but Luke's the only one that really just breaks him down, because Luke temporarily loses his shit. Like, he beats him, and he's not like, and even the way he's fighting, he's not, because it's
not sword fighting. He's beating
him into submission, because that's what happens when we get pissed off. We lose control.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, how he defeats Darth Vader in the battle, I agree. He loses shit, he gives over, and then the Emperor is like, give into the dark side, strike him down. Yes. And Luke is thinking about it, and he stops, and he drops to the lightsaber, and he's like, I'm not going to do it, because they're still good in Anakin Skywalker. Not Darth Vader, in Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
They're still good. And then the Emperor's like, well, all right then, fuck you too. And then Sith lightnings him. And then that's the thing, because... And I think the whole moment, when we're looking at the black emotionless face of Darth Vader, you see the tinge of like, he actually believes there's good in me. He's calling out for father. And that's the thing where George Lucas tried to do through the entire prequels, the original trilogy, everything from the beginning. Why Anakin is so happy-go-lucky and weird as a kid is there's still that little bit of Anakin Skywalker, the kid that got taken away from his mother, the kid who got, taken away by space wizards, who got turned because he was emotional and whatever. He is still that little boy on Tatooine who just wanted to be a pod pilot and was still saying yippee and jumping around. There's still that little tinge of good and hope in him that Luke manages to see. And I think that's why I have issue with how he is in this, because he couldn't see that little tinge of hope in Kylo. And
it's also PTSD too.
Yeah.
He sees it. He's watching his dreams.
He doesn't want it to happen again.
Yeah, he doesn't want it to happen, and it's that moment of, can I stop this person before they go on to kill many?
We get Darth Vader Part 2.
Yeah.
Do I have a question? Is that revealed in Rise of Skywalker, or is that in Last Jedi? I don't remember us getting the true events in...
That's in Last Jedi.
Is it in Last Jedi? Where do we see that in the movie? Is that near the end?
When Rey is fighting with him with the sticks.
Yes, and she's like, what happened? Like, just like she needs clarification.
Okay. Then I might have just been muddled up for some reason. I just don't remember that section. I might have went to go to the bathroom or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's similar, because yes, you're absolutely right. In Return of the Jedi, he loses his shit and he physically beats Vader, and he cuts his hand off, and then he sees
We're the same.
We're the same.
We're the
I'm
same,
losing my
you
shit.
and I.
And then it takes, the Emperor saying, yeah, this is what I wanted. I wanted you to lose your shit. And just that little beacon of hope coming through, because I feel like Luke isn't 100% optimistic and he's not 100% pessimistic. I feel like he balances, because it's even mentioned in Empire when it's revealed, quote unquote, that this is Yoda when he's in Yoda's hut, and we hear Obi-Wan, doing, we hear him from the Force, and even Yoda says, like, I can't train him, like, he has so much anger in him, like his father, and then learning what Anakin was like. They have a similar temper. They lose their shit pretty easily. Like, we're wasting our time. Like he loses his temper, and but
we could see Luke control himself and kind of pull himself out.
Yeah,
of it, versus Anakin, where he just can't. Stop.
Anakin loses it, but Luke, he'll get pissed for a little while, but then he'll like, oh wait, okay, I need to, and that happens in the hut, the real version. He has this moment
of doubt,
of just like, I can stop this all right now,
and I can't go through this. I can't go through decades of Kylo just tormenting the universe. I can't do it.
But then he is like, oh shit, I did it again, and that speaks loudly to me, because I feel like some people have an issue with the darker side of humanity, and I feel like people, I could be wrong here, but this is just from my point of view. I feel like some people probably, like, once a demon is conquered, that's it, it's gone forever.
Nope.
No, they can always come back, always. And I feel like that happens with Luke, and he regrets that. Like, he feels like shit for having, would you say like a minute, maybe 2 minutes of him thinking of, I'm gonna kill my nephew because
I'm gonna kill baby Hitler.
I'm gonna kill another, maybe Darth Vader, because we can't have that happen again. And he's like, oh shit, I failed as a master. But then it ends up being a misunderstanding, because
you're
obviously
asleep and then your uncle's standing over you with
with a lightsaber.
That's a pretty bad thing for your uncle to be standing over you with. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and he's and Ben was already being manipulated by Snoke.
Yeah, he's being seduced and being told, your uncle's bad.
Your uncle's bad.
And now your uncle's trying to kill you.
Look at this. He's gonna, and it makes sense. And then Luke feels responsible for that, because obviously things got even worse after that. So I'm out. Like, me being here, present in the galaxy, is not helping anyone. I'm gonna go to this island that almost no one can find, and I'm just gonna die and just not be a part of it. I understand that. And then at the end, what he does, I think is, again, I loved Luke obviously growing up. And I feel now that his arc in The Last Jedi makes him a better character, because remaining, quote unquote, 100% optimistic, which again, I don't feel like he ever was 100% optimistic. I feel like he teetered. He still had the Anakin Skywalker blood boiling in there somewhere, but he can control it after, you lose your shit, and then you're like, oh, I was a piece of shit. I was an asshole. Like, what was
that was not my best moment.
That was not my best moment. And I feel like that's what Luke is, versus Anakin, who just gives into it, and it took him 20 years to finally come out of it, and then he dies. And all it took was his master torturing his son
in front of him.
I
feel if Palpatine was like, Darth, can you step out for a second? I gotta do a thing. It might have been fine.
Yeah.
But we started to see him breaking down a little bit in Empire when he realizes that, no, your child did make it.
He lets his son through this force field to get to the planet.
And it's just like, wow, my kid's out there, you start to see that kind of change. Yeah. And it's just like, instead of him just saying, this has been a massive mistake, I need to stop, I need to do something.
Yeah. I mean, even thinking about that, which is why, love or hate the prequels, you want how the prequels, the revenge ends. It's like, and the children, Padme's dead, and the children, they died too. Yeah. No, whatever, cheesy as fuck as you want. It's a thing where it's like, okay, you take that mindset, and then it's like, my kids are alive.
Yeah. Like, just imagine you've been evil for so long.
It's a thing where
you've been angry for so long, and you're, being used as a tool. And it's like, I could have had my kids this whole time.
I could have had my family.
I could have had my family.
But you can see where some people would have issue with maybe not Luke as the character we see at the current time in the movie, but how we get there. You can see an argument as to why that might feel like a weird path.
It is jarring to go. I agree. It can be jarring. So it was for me when I first saw it to go from.
Again, you were shell shocked coming out of the theater.
Yeah, just like, oh, what?
Hearing the sounds of Normandy Beach in your ear.
Yeah, just like it is jarring to go from end of Return of the Jedi Luke to all of a sudden seeing him like this. I get that, but also I think about like, wait, it's been like almost 30 years, like as far as time between those two. A lot of shit's happened, and what I never looked up. Do we know how long roughly Luke was on that island for?
Well, okay, I think Kylo Ren is probably like what 15 or whatever when like the thing in the hut happens, right?
He's supposed to be young.
Yeah, young. Maybe he's like 12, right? Whatever. So I would assume he's been on the island almost like 20 years.
That's kind of
15 to 20 years.
That
maybe?
was kind of my guess. I don't know. I know, but I'm trying to find. I don't know if we have official.
It says 6 years.
6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, 6 years?
That's
what
okay. So
how old is? So Kylo was like, I was 23.
He probably was. That kind of makes. I mean, considering Adam Driver's age.
Yeah.
Especially at the time.
Which I one thing I want to point out, Adam Driver, probably the best part about the Disney trilogy. I think we've said that before at this point.
No,
he really carries a lot of this.
He killed it. I mean, I will say,
literally, he killed it.
He literally kills it. Kills the fuck out of it.
I mean, I think the casting in general with the sequel trilogy is great. There isn't really an actor that I don't like. I mean, even the smaller stuff. Like I love Daisy Ridley. I love John Boyega. Like I love I love I follow all the ones I do have social media, so I follow them. But yeah, Adam Driver really sticks out. Like, I think I even said this when Force Awakens came out. Again, this is when I felt more negatively toward the prequels. I was like, I think I said something kind of was considered controversial, probably even more so now. Like, I was like, oh, he's the Anakin we never got. I felt that way.
Wow. Okay.
But I mean, I feel differently about it now, especially kind of rewatching the prequels under a different light. And yeah, I have issues with the prequels, but I will say that Revenge of the Sith is in my top 5 for sure. I have issues with it too. But again, it's Star Wars.
My whole thing coming out of the prequels and everything is maybe on like a 1-to-1 level, they're not great movies, but on a macro level, the story it's trying to do, I respect it.
Yes, I agree.
But let's get back to The Last Jedi, because the whole, like the Luke thing, right? The Luke, Rey, that whole story, I agree. It's strong. It's the part of the movie where I feel was the most fleshed out.
Yeah, it's the strongest, and the biggest thing that I get out of it, the Luke, especially Luke's arc, and and I feel like also the going with the kind of themes of don't meet your heroes. Rey had this kind of pre-idealized image of Luke.
All of them.
I'm gonna see Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, and then she meets him like, who's this guy? This guy's like kind of crusty, and he drinks milk from this like just like
okay, that was not necessary. That was not necessary for that entire thing. I thought that was really dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I get.
So that's where the blue milk comes from.
Yeah. That's the green milk.
It's also how he first see Luke, right? Because how he gets to where he's whatever, agree to disagree, it's fine. It makes sense in the universe, but we first get to see Luke. He's holding the lightsaber, and he's looking at it, and Rey's like, "Oh, he's gonna turn the lightsaber on. We're gonna start. Oh, this is gonna be so fucking good." And then Luke's like, tosses it over his shoulder and walks off, and I'm like, that's a weird comedy beat to reveal Luke for.
I feel like that was unintentionally comedic. Personally,
it was probably all Mark Hamill.
He probably was like, so you want me to just like toss it? He's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. And he probably did it like 3 or 4 ways. And they were like, the one he tosses it over the back, that gets a beat, right? That's funny.
I would have just had him just toss it to his side. Like, I don't want this.
I would have had him just do like the whole like, drum corps thing where he just holds it up in front of him and just like drops the sticks, like right, like looks her dead in the eyes.
You mean drop the mic?
He just drops the mic, looks at Rey and be like, I'm fucking done, and just like flies off.
I'm retired.
He could just say I'm retired and just drops it.
Him tossing the lightsaber essentially just why are you giving this to me? Makes sense to me. Like Like, especially considering his state of mind at the time. Like, I wouldn't want... I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in his head. Like, knowing everything that's happened to him. Like, just, I wouldn't want that shit either. Like, the younglings, as what people call it, the youngling Slayer 3000.
Yeah.
Like, why are you giving this to me?
No thanks, Dad.
Like, why do you think I'm here by myself? Like, you're going to hand me this lightsaber of all things? I had my own lightsaber, by the way. I thought I'd mention that.
Yeah.
You know, the green one.
Yeah, the green one,
cool
the really amazing one. Like, I am wondering what the hell happened to his lights. He probably threw it away because his X-Wing was at the bottom of the ocean, pretty much.
It would have been so poetic if, during the Snoke fight, that's the one that Kylo Ren uses. He just has, like, Luke's fucking green
happens
lightsaber.
to have it.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Or no, that's Snoke's lightsaber now.
It's Snoke's.
Yeah.
But, I mean, him tossing that in context with Luke and where he is makes sense to me. I know people, he's disrespectful. I'm like, of course it is. He's not... Oh, I'm so happy you brought this to me. Like, why would he be happy?
I've been looking for this for 20 years.
Yeah, just like just think of where he is mentally and physically. Like, why
also,
would
just
why
thinking
would
in
he
context
want
of the movie, most of the movie is subverting expectations or curveballs. Oh, that's a lot of the movie, right?
This is why I told you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, you should. I think
so,
you should.
because there's parallels where it's just like,
oh yeah, there's big parallels.
I'll get around to it. But
I mean,
again,
that's Dean's paper. He's never going to watch it.
The Last Jedi.
No, but I mean, yeah, I feel like people have a hard time with seeing the quote unquote optimistic hero suddenly being this depressed hermit. And I understand that, but
when we meet Luke, he is depressed.
Yeah, he is. Like, he's on this shitty planet with his aunt and uncle who he kind of like, sort of.
He wants to get out. He wants to see the galaxy. He wants something new. He's like
he was gonna, I mean,
he was going to join the Empire.
He was going to join the Empire because he was like, fuck it, I don't want to be here.
He's the farm boy in Kansas who's like, maybe I'll join the Marines. Nam doesn't sound that bad. I'll just get to see the world. That's literally Luke Skywalker in the first movie. It's 1963 farm boy from Kansas. Like, I can join the Marines. I'll get sent to Southeast Asia, see the world. You know, it'll be fine, right?
They get fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. He's first run enlistment for Nam. That's what George Lucas is probably like building the Luke character out of.
Yeah, and then just considering his mannerisms throughout the original trilogy. Like, he has a kind of a short temper, nowhere near Anakin, obviously, but
he's a little cocky.
He's kind of cocky, but he does have he still has his mother in him. Like, just all right, let's just try to figure this out. But he has his father in him too, where I'm gonna lose my shit for a little bit.
And Padme's like, stop, Anakin, stop.
Yeah, like I again, like to really nail down how I feel about Luke's arc in Last Jedi and how it makes me love him so much more, is he spends a long time, with 6 years at least, being a weird, depressed hermit because shit didn't go right with him. But then what happens at the end? He sacrifices himself and he comes out of it. I mean, to me, being someone who has suffered from depression on multiple occasions where I was the weird hermit, locked in my apartment for years, and for anyone who's listening who has been through that or knows someone who's been through that, to get out of that state of mind into, I guess, triumph, I don't know what else word to use it, is extremely powerful and meaningful. And that just makes me love him more. And he fights Kylo, quote unquote, at the end, and probably, I know other people have said this too, in the most Jedi way possible. He doesn't even, I mean, I know he can't physically, but Kylo doesn't know that. He thinks he's actually there. And he doesn't touch Kylo at all. Like, Kylo does all of the aggression, and Luke just kind of stands there. Like, I know, he's not really there, but that's the whole point. He does it in the most pacifist Jedi, quote unquote, peaceful way. He's just trying to distract Kylo to get what's left of the resistance away, because he knows that they don't stand a chance. Yeah, in the limited numbers they are. So he is the hero at the end. I feel like at the end, he is the Luke that we had in Return of the Jedi. It just took him a while to get back to that. Like, again, it's an extended version of Luke losing his shit and then thinking about it and then overcoming that. This is just a stretched out. He was depressed, weird hermit, just like his masters were for so long. And it took another Jedi and then other circumstances, him reconnecting with the Force, which he does.
Mm-hmm.
He hears Leia. That's all it takes. And then him seeing R2 again and all that. He's getting tugged back again, just like Kylo. Just like Kylo is, just I feel it again. Like, Kylo is the opposite. He's trying to be evil, but he's getting those tugs from the light. And Luke is just, no, I don't want to deal with this, but he's getting tugged by the people he cares about. And now here's this new young woman who is the kind of the idealized version of a Jedi, but she also wrestles with the dark side a bit because she has questions about herself.
That was my argument for Rey in The Force Awakens, was she was a completed hero at the beginning of the movie. She was smart, she was a capable fighter, she was a completed hero that had no true resistance up until throughout the movie. But in this, I like her more because now we get a sense of what's like her chip on her shoulder, and it's, I don't know who my parents are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are they somebody? And she's so hopeful. It's Luke. She's so hopeful.
It's someone
it's
with
somebody.
It's someone with and then when she falls through that, essentially the dark side of the island,
and Kylo's like, there were some fucking drunks that sold you for beer money.
Like you're nobody. Who gives a shit? And that makes her character so much more meaningful. And this is coming from me. My all-time favorite character in all Star Wars is the Emperor. And
questions, but besides the point. Big fan of the chat.
Yeah, but just like, and Obi-Wan is tied with that, with him. Like I have two subcategories, like dark side, light side character. Mm-hmm. It's like people love Darth Vader. It's like that. Yeah. But Darth Vader's kind of he's fine. But no,
hot takes all day.
Yeah,
you're like, it's the cool lightning power in his fingers. It just gets me every time.
Just how he was so easily able to play
everybody.
Everyone is kind of amazing. And I love all Star Wars. I like that. And there's the dark side in me, where I find the villains to be fascinating.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to play that game for so long is astonishing. But again, this has a lot to do with my feelings on Rise of Skywalker. As much as I loved seeing Ian ham it up as the Emperor again, like, what the fuck is he doing in this movie?
That was my thought too. I'm like, you're back?
Yeah.
What?
I remember.
Wait, didn't you die?
Didn't you die? And then I remember
I've died many
times.
Seeing
that just like in the theater opening night, just like I made Snoke, and in my brain I was like, oh, he like trained him. Oh no, there's like 4 other Snokes in a vat.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god.
Well, this one hasn't seen it.
So this is a
spoilers.
Fun it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. Like, Last Jedi was where I checked out of Star Wars, right? It was the thing where I'm like, oh wow, Disney does not respect me enough to have a plan for these. All right, cool. Deuces. You can keep your fucking money. But I haven't seen The Last Jedi. But here's the thing, right?
Rise of Skywalker.
Or sorry, The Rise of Skywalker. I've seen The Last Jedi. I watched it. in the theater. But the thing is the talking about Snoke for a second.
Yeah, please.
The big bad that was established in Force Awakens, the heir apparent to the Emperor, the true villain, the Emperor to Kylo Ren's Vader. Man, he died pretty fucking easy, right?
He did.
Really anticlimactic.
It was cool, though.
It was cool.
It was cool. I liked the fight, cool choreography, but I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
You know what? It's because he's not the big bad.
Mm-mm.
It's Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a big bad already. It was the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna outshine what the Emperor did.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it. I for what little we got of Snoke, and also keep in mind, and I'm repeating what other people have said, outside of the context of the prequel trilogy, what did we know about the Emperor?
Basically nothing.
Probably, I would say less, if not the equal amount, compared to Snoke in these two movies.
I think we get to be we get to be around the Emperor a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue with Snoke is there's no explanation for Snoke, I guess, as like a character.
There wasn't for the Emperor.
For the Emperor, yeah, until the prequels.
Yeah.
I think that's something that people were probably more like annoyed by is the first time we get to see Snoke in the flesh, right?
Yes.
In the flesh, and he's obviously a powerful Jedi or Sith or whatever. And it's like, man, he could he's rocking,
he's
fucking
really powerful.
Really powerful. And then he dies without ever taking out a lightsaber. He dies without ever doing Sith lightning. He gets
doesn't even get out of his chair.
Doesn't even get out of his chair. I think that's probably something people are annoyed by. Is I never saw this man stand up.
I think it's because he's not the Emperor. I don't think he's nearly as powerful. I mean, ignoring the events of Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Just since we're just talking about Last Jedi here, and pretty much,
Last Jedi almost exists in a different world as the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, even including what little we see and hear of him in Force Awakens, like I do find his character fascinating because A, we don't know much about him, and B, he is powerful, but I never got the impression that he's just as, if not more powerful than the Emperor, and his arrogance and no one can defeat me is what gets him killed.
When Snoke is like, yes, Kylo is taking this lightsaber, and he is pointing it at the one that will kill him, and then he will press it. He was earmarking for, I don't know who in the audience of, hey guys, Kylo's gonna turn, right, guys? We got this shot of the lightsaber turning. I legit was like, I think Kylo's gonna kill Rey, and that's gonna be the subversion, because this is way too obvious. Way too obvious that Kylo's gonna turn on Snoke in that moment, and Snoke's hamming it up a lot, and I thought it was a little much for the moment.
It was a little much, but I understand what it is. It's
Rian Johnson had 6 months for the script. All right, give him a break.
Not only that, but also Snoke being I can't be. He says it himself. I cannot be betrayed. Just but he was already fucking with Kylo, and keep in mind, Kylo has already getting pulled to the light to begin with. And I love the scene where we see in pretty much the beginning, where we see Snoke for the first time in the flesh. That scene of him and Kylo talking, I love so much. And it also, he brings up things that some people had issue with Rey in Force Awakens, how did she beat Kylo in a lightsaber? First of all, he was already fucking injured.
Yeah, he was bleeding to death.
He was already bleeding, getting hit by that bolt, and Rey's obviously already had some hand-to-hand combat self-training because she had to survive on that shitty planet for so long.
Good old Jakku.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Nowhere. Oh, where? Jakku. Oh, that's pretty much nowhere.
Yeah, just she had to fend for herself for so long, and I like how he rubs it in to Kylo, just you're beaten by a girl who has never held a lightsaber. I love that he tells him to take that ridiculous helmet off, because we know he doesn't need that helmet.
Yeah, he's doing it because he wants to be Vader.
That's him cosplaying as Vader. And just I love that scene. He just really drills into him, and just that bolt, that lightning, how it just ricochets off there, he's just fucking with him. And it makes sense to me that that Kylo kills him at the end, because he was already starting to not like this guy.
Can I put my tinfoil hat on real quick?
Please.
Oh, no.
I feel like Kylo Ren is almost the filmmaker's analog for Star Wars fandom. Okay, we see him, he's wearing the Darth Vader cosplay, and he's I want everything to be like the original trilogy. I want Vader back. Fuck all this shit. And then after the events of the movie or whatever, and he's looking at Rey and he's fuck all of this.
Yeah.
Fuck the Empire, or fuck the First Order, fuck the Jedi, fuck the Sith. Let's just do our own thing. Just fuck it. Let's just do our own thing. It's almost the meta thing of fuck the original trilogy, fuck the prequels. Let's just do our own Star Wars stuff, guys. Let's just have fun in this big sandbox and just enjoy the world. Just enjoy the lore.
Are we going to Tatooine, or are we going back to Jakku?
Again, it's always a desert planet.
It's always a desert planet.
It's got to be Tatooine. If we're going back to the originals,
might as well.
But it's almost the big meta read I have of this movie, because I like that of, sometimes characters are speaking as the audience or the filmmaker of it's almost like Rian Johnson being guys, we could do so much if we just get rid of the whole good versus bad, Empire versus Jedi, light versus dark. Let's just explore the fucking world. Like, it's a big galaxy. Let's go and do the Boba Fett Predator movie. Let's go and do the fucking...
Let's just have fun.
Let's just have fun, guys. Like, come on, Rey, you and me will go off and start a new galaxy, have babies, and it'll be fine. Because obviously we're not related. You're from some fucking desert planet, and I'm Kylo fucking Ren.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
They're both attractive. Come on. Let's just do it.
Have you seen Kylo Ren's like, you saw me shirtless. You see the abs of Driver.
Yeah.
Let's roll. Okay.
Did you like the spark between the two of them?
Yes, I did.
Because I know that was an issue with people where they were like, no, she belonged with Finn, and it's like, well, why? Because he met her first?
I mean,
Finn, I can.
Because I know we've had that. And you're like, well, yeah, she met him first. And I'm like, so.
Well, okay, no, I can see why people think that, because that feels like what was earmarked in the first movie, and then I feel the kiss between Rose and Finn was supposed to be like, see, guys, now Rey and Kylo can be together because Finn's already taken. Come on, guys, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's almost like that's how this was built up.
Maybe...
It feels like Rian Johnson was trying to break all the characters apart, so it's like, guys, the next movie, we get to just explore Star Wars. We get just do Star Wars stuff, guys.
No, I wouldn't say that I was full Reylo, as they called it.
That sounds like the name of a fucking 90s hip hop band.
That's what it was being referred to as.
That's the fan base.
That was the fan base, but I liked that. That's why, like, as ridiculous as Rise of Skywalker was, the kiss they kiss in the end.
I'll
just reveal it. But I didn't have a problem with that. I'm like, pretty much, again, spoilers, and anyone who's listening, like, I think would agree. Maybe like that kiss didn't come out of nowhere. Like, pretty much almost every interaction between Rey and Kylo and especially in Rise of Skywalker, they're just being horny at each other.
It has very big I want to fuck energy,
pretty
you would
much
say.
Just like, and I get it, like, and
it could be a thing where, even if you want to drop it back to the prequels, this boy is supposed to be the balance to the Force. Well, it's like, well, what if their offspring are the two people that come together and they balance the Force out?
Well, I also allow me to quote Snoke in the when Rey meets Snoke, I think he even says, he told Kylo, like, when he got stronger, his rival will naturally, rise. I think he says, darkness rises and light to meet it.
But I do have a question. Do you think my meta read of Kylo Ren as a Star Wars fanboys is correct?
I like that.
It reads.
I'll be honest. I like it. So sure. I'll
Again, it's one of those things. Watching the movie, I was like, you know what, Kylo? Yeah, fuck all this. Let's just do Star Wars shit.
Yeah, but then, like, him being Kylo was like, let's just kill all your friends too. And she's like,
let's really start with a clean slate.
He should have. And she was like, oh, so we're gonna get rid of my fucking CD collection, but not your CD collection.
Yeah,
okay.
Much. Like, so, okay, this guy is like, she's like, please. She's like, don't do this. Come on. Like, you had me in the first half, but then you're like, yeah, let your friends die too.
I'm now thinking of the football meme. I ain't gonna lie, they had me in the first half, guys. Yeah, they had me in the first half, but we came back in the second.
I think that was another, like, yeah, she feels a connection with him, but then she was like, maybe he's too far gone because he's still crazy.
You keep touching your grandpa's, melted helmet.
Yeah. Like this, you're fanboying your grandfather a little too hard, buddy. Like you forgot that you're forgetting that he came back at the end.
Yeah,
it is.
There's a whole movie.
Yeah,
Kylo, just sit down and watch
Return of the Jedi. He is the Jedi returned. People don't get this.
Yeah,
but it is just. It's one of those things where the stuff with Rey and Kylo, I dig. The stuff with Luke and Rey, I dig. It's a fascinating thing where I'm like, there's a solid, like, movie plot in here with these characters, and then everything else outside of that, I just don't fucking care about at all.
See, like, I'm okay with people saying I didn't like The Last Jedi. All right, cool. But then there's other people that they go a little too far. I'm like,
your thing is like, if you have a reason, I'll fine.
I'll happily listen to it. And if there's something you say that I agree with, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you got a point there. And yeah, me defending The Last Jedi, I feel like some people might have the wrong idea that I think 100% amazing.
This is the plot reveal.
Yeah, just like I still have issues, and a lot of them are nitpicky. Like, allow me to I know we're low on time here, but
please, we
yeah,
still need to do the wrap up too. So go for it.
So just like I have nitpicky things. I'm like, I don't know. We have mentioned some of them, like Rose's line at the end. I know what Ryan. I think was Ryan was going for. Did this hopeful line of the whole we're not gonna win by fighting what we hate, but by protecting who we love, whatever. I'm like, I know what you're going for, but that's cheesy, like, because that's what he was doing. That wasn't. It would have been fun if she didn't say anything at all, or if she is like we mentioned, like,
you think that was gonna do anything?
Like I saved you. That wasn't gonna do anything. Like, I know it's something. I'm not rewriting it, but something along those lines where that's the message that was across. And a little thing like right after, essentially what could be argued as like one of the most mind-blowing moments in Star Wars, the kamikaze suicide thing. After that happens, we see like Leia and Poe looking back at it, and they're just like, oh my god. But then there's like crew behind them. They're like, hey, they have big smiles on their face.
Like, we fucking did it,
like,
boys.
It's like, hey, it's good to see you. And I'm like, wouldn't everyone just be glued? Like, the most mind-blowing thing to like almost anyone's ever seen, like, just be glued, like, holy shit, what just happened?
It's like the end of the movie where they're, the resistance is leaving and they're all like, yeah, guys, we made it, survival, yeah. And I'm like, guys, you guys are fucked. There's 20 of you in the entire resistance.
So just like, I have nitpicky things. Like, the tone's a little weird. Like, there's only like 5 of us or however many there's left, and we just saw this. Shouldn't we all be like glued to that? I have nitpicky things, but in general, again, the things that people seem to bitch about the most are my favorite things, like Luke's arc, Rey discovering that she's a nobody. That makes her character more interesting. They fuck it up in the third one. Like, just...
Do you have a favorite moment or favorite scene?
Yeah,
something that really...
Yes, there is one scene, again, because I started rewatching it, but I've had a busy weekend, but I've watched it enough that like it isn't as ingrained in my soul like Empire or the original trilogy is.
Because I want to see if your favorite scene matches mine.
It's Yoda.
Oh, okay, yeah, Yoda got me too.
Yes,
strong.
Yes, so especially there's one line that I'm probably gonna tear up. Just so you know, I love this line so much. Is when he tells Luke about failure. I'm already.
I can see it happening.
You can see it. Look, I'm getting fucking. Especially with connecting it with my own personal experiences in life. Just how failure is the greatest teacher. I'm even fucking.
You can hear it in your voice.
It's more. I feel like that's more Yoda than we got in. I know it's a different Yoda. Just I guess thinking of Yoda's arc in his own tiny arcs in all 3 trilogies. We have 3 different versions of Yoda. We have essentially Luke's version of Yoda in Empire. It's just like, oh, I can't train him. I'm this weird hermit because we fucked up.
Yes,
like,
it's in the Jedi code.
It's in the Jedi code,
bro. Like, you have a bad Monday, you're out.
Yeah. When you send your kid to go to Jedi training school, like, first of all, they have to be celibate for some reason. like just like boner bead. Make sure they take their boner bead on when they hit their teens. And then just like, if things go wrong, make sure they turn into a hermit and not deal with their issues for
you
like years.
You put yourself in timeout.
Yeah, you put yourself in timeout because they all did that. But then we see prequel Yoda, who's kind of full of himself, like all the dark side clouding everything. But yeah, we're fine. Like, just
I'm teaching classes.
We're
I'm
the Jedi.
We're Jedi. We're good.
We'll figure it out. It's fine.
We're good. Never mind this other guy. No, you guys have your head up. You guys have your heads up your own asses.
The parallels to the fall of Germany, the Weimar Republic. That guy's just some crazy loon at some rallies. Who's gonna care?
Who cares? Oh shit.
Yeah, there you go. Again, the parallels. Parallels.
Yeah, and then we get this version of Yoda, who's the wisest version. We only get him for a few minutes. Yeah. And then him just, first him reminding Luke, like, I taught you to like spread the word. You're kind of doing that for a while, but then you stopped because something went wrong. And he's like, I failed. And then he breaks the big one to him, like, what's the greatest teacher? It's failure. Like, and I so connect with that. Like I tear up every time I watch it. Like I love that scene so much. Like if I had to pick a favorite,
that's like top 5 Star Wars scenes.
Yeah, no, for me, absolutely, it's up there. So that's my favorite. A close second is the Kylo and Snoke scene in the beginning. But what's yours?
Let's see if I don't lose it. It's definitely when Luke knows that he needs to, come back, basically. And he goes down to the Falcon, and him and R2 reunite.
Yes, that's...
And it's just, it's like seeing
one.
the two of them together, and then R2's kind of, trying to pull him back. And then, he's just like, I can't do it. And then R2 plays Leia's...
Oh,
no.
I literally am getting goosebumps thinking of that.
Top 5 for sure.
And then Luke's like, that was a cheap shot. I was like, oh, but it was a good one, R2.
Yeah, I also love... Because I love R2 so much.
Yeah.
Like, I love him so much. And I love, like, when he first sees him, like, when R2 first sees... You just wonder, what was R2 saying? It's like, hey! like R2 was like, where the fuck have you been, you asshole? Like, just like, oh, it's Sacred Ireland, watch the language. It's so R2.
He's like, did you not know I shut down for 6 years?
Yeah. It was like,
I'm going through some shit, R2, all right?
Just like, while you were out here being depressed, I had to shut down because my best friend left.
He's like, first your dad did this to me.
Yeah, first your dad fucking bolted.
He's like, asshole, you left me with C-3PO for fucking this long.
I had to deal with that asshole? Like, just like, no, if anything, it might be in my top 3 for that.
Yeah, that one and Yoda. Those two are just, right to the heart.
And I do love that it's not, because, Force Awakens and even, like, Rogue One is, like, Easter egg the movies.
Yeah.
Like, remember this, remember this. And this one doesn't really have a lot of that. We get little things like that, but it's
plot relevant.
It's plot relevant, and it's like, hey, remember this, guys? Remember X-Wings? Remember TIE Fighters? Like, it isn't so much that, which I appreciate. All right, so do you have a favorite scene?
Oh, I have a favorite scene, yeah. I mean, it comes down to the fact that watching The Last Jedi, there's a lot of stuff I like, and I don't think I've surprised anybody in my life of being like, I don't love Star Wars. I enjoy Star Wars. Star Wars is fun. I have never been able to come to an emotional connection with Star Wars. I have a huge emotional connection to the prequels, but that has almost nothing to do with the movies.
Yeah.
My dad took me to 5 movies in my life in the theater. 3 of them were the Star Wars prequels. All right?
Which I get. Yeah.
But there is a thing where when Luke is saying goodbye to Leia, when he's in there and he's like gives her the dice from the Falcon and is like, you can be, when you're gone, you're not forgotten. You're never really gone.
You're never really gone.
And it's the thing, we're watching that and then looking at it as a wider, again, outside of the movie meta thing. It's Luke Skywalker saying goodbye to Princess Leia. It's the Star Wars fandom saying goodbye to Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
And, you can say what you want. She was an actress. She was in these movies back in the 70s, whatever. And I'm like, no, Carrie Fisher is a person that has been enshrined in pop culture. And it's the thing, like, Charlie Chaplin will live forever. She, like,
she's our princess.
Yeah,
she's our princess. She like the Tramp. She like, Buster Keaton. She like the Predator. Whatever.
It's always the Predator with you.
Fine, but
I don't blame him.
Get what I mean. She has ascended to a level of like otherworldly status, like Monroe. Like she will live forever because she was Princess Leia.
Yeah.
And we're saying goodbye to her. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I know it wasn't intentional. I know it's not something the movie meant to do. It was supposed to be Luke saying goodbye, and it was supposed to be Luke going. But looking at it in the context of that outside of it, I'm like, that is one of the most beautiful moments that we actually got to get with the real actors at the right time in the right moment for the worst case scenario, that we actually got to say goodbye to a person that will live on forever in cinema history. Yeah. And it's a beautiful moment to me. For that reason.
I mean, I agree.
And then it's a pod race right after that, besides the point.
I mean, no, pod race too.
Yeah, I agree. And I know people complain that would it have been nice to see all 3 of them together? Yeah,
that was an argument I made in Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I want to see all of them together, right?
Yeah, but we got what we got. Harrison Ford was very happy that Han Solo died.
That man has been. I imagine Harrison Ford for the last 40 years was throwing darts at the Han Solo stand.
Yeah.
He's like, I fucking hate this character.
Yeah,
I just want to play Indy 4 more times.
And it was as tragic as it was a good ending for his character.
Yeah.
and he did great in that role. Like my favorite moment, again going back to the Han Solo in the Force Awakens, my favorite little moment is it's very quick. It's like one of the most Han Solo things he does to me, and I mean he's Han Solo in it, but it's when he's leaving the cockpit. You don't even see his face; you see his feet, and he kind of kicks BB-8, and he just says "Move, ball." Like just I love that shit so much.
All right, so that is The Last Jedi. So the arguments we had leveled against this was the Luke's transformation from the original trilogy, the pacing, the plot, the handling of Snoke, and the humor. Do you think those arguments were valid for the audience? Do you think people being mad at Luke's character in this is unfounded? Do you think the pacing is like, you think it's unfounded?
I do. I feel very strongly that if you just pay attention to his mannerisms in the original trilogy, and yes, I understand there's a giant gap. Would it have been nice if we saw
a little more?
If they made movies in between? Absolutely. Just to have that transition be not as jarring. I understand it being jarring going from that Luke to 30 years later. Now we have this Luke. But just think of context of who he is. He's half Anakin Skywalker, half Padme. Two completely different people. One person who just loses his shit because he's been through so much. He was a slave. He watched his mother get murdered and slowly and tortured, and more shit happened, getting manipulated by the Emperor, and also kind of pretty much getting manipulated by a Jedi too. And then that being in Luke's blood, him having that same anger in him, but also having the more conscious and let's figure things out and reason of his mother. So Luke and then considering who trained him, again, as brought up, makes perfect sense. So him being where he is in The Last Jedi, to me, makes sense considering his training, considering that what happened, he feels like he failed his nephew, which he kind of did. But then him overcoming that at the end, him taking another not Jedi to bring him out of that, and then him reconnecting with the Force, and then at the end I feel like we got Jedi Master Luke at the very end, like really. And I love his death. I think it's beautiful. He dies fulfilled and peacefully.
He gets the sunset from Tatooine.
Yeah, he gets the sunset, and it's amazing. I love old man Luke. I love Luke so much, and to me, after years of rewatching and thinking about it, this just makes his character that much more powerful. As far as Luke's, again, to reiterate. So I feel like people hating on Luke's arc saying, you ruined Luke. No, they made him better. Just rewatch the original trilogy. Pay attention to his mannerisms. Think about what happens between him and Vader. He beats him physically by losing his shit, but then he calms down a little bit because another more evil guy is manipulating him, and he realizes that. And yes, he is the optimistic character, but he also has a short fucking temper. So he can act rash, and that, again, just because you overcome your demons doesn't mean they stay overcome. They can always come back. Speaking from experience, I feel like we could all relate to that. So I love Luke in this movie very much so. It makes him better.
But the pacing and the bloated plot. You're like, okay, maybe I give you that one. The casino's long.
So yes, it was longer than it needed to be. I'm okay with the general theme of Canto Bight. I like that, but it goes on for too long. And again, a lot of the humor feels prequely in a bad way. But yeah. I know that's subjective. So that's fine.
I really like the ending with the kids.
Yes, I do. Very much so.
Where the kids are, speaking whatever language, and they're, telling the stories of Luke Skywalker. And it's this thing where, again, your favorite line, we're never really gone. Luke's gone, but
no one's ever really gone.
But he's never going to be really gone. We have, the children relaying the stories, and we see, the excitement that we felt when we were growing up watching these movies. And I love the little boy that goes out there to go sweep, and, he's Force sensitive. And it's like, okay, we have a whole batch of Jedi that are going to come back. and we'll see where the universe takes us.
Yeah. I love that. I love, again, that theme started with Rey in it, where she's a nobody. Like, you don't need to be part, because that, I'm assuming that wasn't really a thing. I mean, I know Anakin was conceived, quote unquote.
I mean, Anakin was Jesus.
Yes.
If you don't remember.
Yes, Anakin is Force Jesus, but think of every other Jedi ever, where did they all come from this lineage? I mean, I know we don't know, but I'm assuming not. It's just,
we can make that assumption.
Yeah, we can make that assumption. Just like that, it can be anyone. Like, oh, I have a son who has these abilities. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess maybe he's a Jedi.
Let me call those weird monks.
Let me call these monks out here on this like city planet.
It's a desert planet. Let's be real here. They're all desert planets.
Yeah. So, no, I love that, and that's for me. Like, I know I've mentioned this before. In my headcanon, it's for when it comes to the sequels, it's The Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi kind of feels like a part 3 that just leaves us hanging.
Yeah.
So, and then the rest of the adventures takes place at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Just no longer exists.
Like, oh, they're still fighting. So,
all right. Well, we have reached our time for the day. I think we can all come away from The Last Jedi at least gleaming something different. I think you have made a very solid defense on all the shit that people have issue with.
I try. Like I said, I know there's issues. It's not perfect, but it's Star Wars. It's not going to be perfect unless it's Empire Strikes Back.
Agreed.
So, thoughts on The Last Jedi after the defense?
No, ditto. I mean, Thomas came in, he knocked it out of the park. I mean, yeah, I like I said with The Force Awakens, I feel like the further we get away from the release of the movies, the more I'm going to love them, just like with the prequels.
Yeah, because
in it, I was, not having it, but later on, it's kind of like I have love for it, and it's like I see it for what it is. And that's how I feel, coming down later along the line, I'm going to feel the same way too. But The Last Jedi is 1,000 times better than Rise of Skywalker. It's, it feels, more fleshed out, even though there's issues. You could see where the storyline could have been tightened, and we could have, cut this, and that out, but it hits you in the feels.
I will say that your defense has made me see the movie in a better light than when I came in, because I don't think if anyone noticed, I started like yelling about fucking Haldo. I was very angry about this. But it's a thing where the rest of the movie, I'm like, fuck, the rest of the movie kind of vibes. Like, it's just the thing where the defense of Luke's character, why it works so well, the fact that there's actually so many good emotional moments in it that work. It angers me to no end that they didn't commit with this.
It would have been ideal if they're like, all right, we have Star Wars now, all right, let's do this right. Let's take our time. Let's just figure out what the overall story of this new trilogy is going to be. I think they made a mistake of jumping directly into Episode 7. Rogue One should have came first.
Yeah.
The one that's the nostalgia, like, hey guys,
all right, here's a nostalgia bomb movie. Again, Rogue One's fine. And if anything, if you haven't seen Andor yet, have you?
No.
He's not going to watch it.
Okay, well, I think you should. Out of everything, I think Andor you would probably love more than all of new Star Wars.
I can't even get him to commit to The Mandalorian.
I've watched 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, and I was like, I'm good.
Really?
To make it a thing.
This is a theme I'm noticing.
No, it's the issue.
Dean hates everything that I love.
I do not. Oh, God, no. No, it's a thing where Star Wars, I got such a sour taste in my mouth for Star Wars because I look at it and I'm like, Disney had the golden goose, the golden opportunity. They could literally have made anything. And I do mean anything. Like, they could have put 2.5 hours of Mark Hamill reading the fucking phone book in the Jedi robes. It would have grossed $1 billion. So it's a thing I'm like, you guys could have taken so many crazy swings. You could have done anything you wanted. They make the safest movie possible, Force Awakens. And I'm like, okay, sure, you need to get everybody back on track. The prequels didn't do anything. Then they make The Last Jedi. And I'm like, okay, you're making swings, but nothing's committing. Like, by the end of the movie, we just spun our wheels for like 2.5 hours. You spent so much money on this, and there's no plan. And I feel like so disrespected as an audience member that I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I like the prequels. I love the original trilogy. I've admitted it. I actually do fucking love A New Hope. But
you admit that all the time.
And I love the original trilogy, sure, but it's a thing where it's like, fuck it, I'll just go back to this. Fuck the rest of it. I don't care anymore. You know they burned their bridge with me.
And I'm fine with that. Like, you have your arguments, and I'm cool with that. I love all Star Wars, even the cheesy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I will reluctantly watch Rise of Skywalker, and I'll just take an edible. Well, this is awesome. Here's the lightsabers. That's cool. Like just like Daisy Ridley's really good looking. Cool. I get to look at her for a little bit. Adam Driver's good looking. I get to look at him. I just enjoy it for what it is, and I love Star Wars. I get teary-eyed goosebumps when it comes to Star Wars. I love it with all my heart, but I also understand the people that I don't really. I'm like, I get it. It's cheesy. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I know people that are like, nah, I don't really fuck with Star Wars. So I'm like, all right, it's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna go over here and go to Galaxy's Edge and eat
a Ronto wrap
and eat a way overpriced hot dog.
I mean, it's the same thing, Becky, when we talk about Lord of the Rings. I fucking love Lord of the Rings, and she's like, I watched them in the theater and they were like okay. And I'm like, they're like the greatest trilogy in cinema history.
No, I love Lord of the I'm like, everyone just needs to calm down. I feel like whenever someone says, I like this, you don't, why do you like,
everyone gets really defensive about their shit for no reason.
All right, who gives a shit? I'm gonna go over here and nerd out about Star Wars on my own with my other Star Wars friends. If someone wants to talk about Star Wars, I will happily talk about it. But once you start going off the deep end, I'm like, all right, I'm done with talking to you. I just want to have fun here.
Dean, when you and Greg go to Hobbiton and you FaceTime me and you're in tears, at the set and be like, no, none of that. When I got all teary-eyed the first time I went to Batu and I saw the Millennium Falcon with my own eyes, and I just
life-changing
moment, and you were like,
yes.
So what? We're in Disneyland, and I'm like, this is the moment. This is something I never thought I'd be able to see with my own eyes. Feel it, the music.
Yeah, I just.
I guess the theme that we have come to is different strokes for different folks.
Yeah,
yes.
And that's fine. Like if you don't like Last Jedi, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But if you go way too far and you spend almost a decade just ranting about how much you hate it, how it ruined Star Wars for you,
how it ruined your life, how it made your wife leave you.
I'm like, oh Jesus Christ!
You must not have had a life to begin with. If one movie destroyed you.
You know what? Just fine. Just be an idiot and just bitch and moan and complain. I remember years ago, again, I know we're to wrap things up, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I remember years ago, after Last Jedi came out, a bunch of fans that hated it, that were very vocal, they were trying to raise their own money to remake The Last Jedi.
I remember that.
I saw that.
I wanted that to happen so bad.
So everyone could shit on it?
Yeah, just I remember someone made a fan poster of that, how stupid, Luke had, was all ripped and everything. It just looked really dumb. And I remember, someone posted in response to that, is for anyone, have you guys seen or know of Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so someone made, because every Always Sunny has the gang that does that.
The gang makes Star Wars.
It was that. It was the gang remakes The Last Jedi, and I'm like, please I think even Ryan Johnson was like, please, I want this to happen.
God.
So, but yes, please give it. With Dean here, give it a chance, just in context. Yes, there's issues with it, but it doesn't deserve the hate it gets. And that's my final saying.
And with that is The Last Jedi. And is this the end of Defense of Star Wars month?
We'll see.
Yes, because we couldn't get anyone to defend Rise of Skywalker, so we might try and fit a bonus episode somewhere to fill the month out.
We want a bonus episode, but we're going to see timing because we have a lot of stuff we need to record.
Yes.
So
yeah.
We almost made it to the same runtime as this movie.
Oh, we're short 15 minutes.
Oh shit, I'm so happy.
But with that, since we don't know what's coming out next week, do you want to let them know what we're doing next month?
No, we'll keep that a secret, just in case we're back next week.
All right. Well, if you wanted to find out what we're doing, where can they go?
If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us at Instagram on the Film Club Podcast, where we post daily stories, upcoming episodes, upcoming theme months. and random adventures we go on.
You can also find us on YouTube at the Film Vault. That is the Film Vault on Film Vault on YouTube, where we have all of our old episodes put up in YouTube form, so you can watch them in the lovely slideshows we put there. But if you wanted to follow our guest, where can they find you? What are you working on? What's going on? Are you making Last Jedi?
I am remaking Last Jedi. No.
Claymation.
I just like the last 2 times I was on, just my basic social media shit. Just Instagram. That's at alternate, but alt.ernate. You're welcome to see my weird, cryptic, random shit, which is mostly stories of me going at Disneyland and me working on random weird shit and me being moody sometimes. I am working on my next film, as you know.
Claymation: The Last Jedi.
Claymation: The Last Jedi.
You'll be done in like 20 years.
The Clay Awakens.
The Clay Awakens.
I'm not going to give away too much, but it is going to be a little horror short that is lightly inspired by the Blair Witch Project. Not a found footage. I'm referring to tone here. So I'm going to say that's it. I'm glad and proud that Dean selected me to be his cinematographer for his recent film. That was a blast working on. But as far as me, that's all that's going for me. I'll be going to Disneyland every week and relishing in all the Star Warsy stuff that I get to relish.
You keep sending him pictures of Batu.
Oh,
just
I
to
will.
piss him off.
You know what? Every week you're going to get a brand new, even if it's just like a little like crate, like a little like box.
I would
like,
love
dude,
that.
Check this out.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, that brings us to an end at the Film Club.
Thank you very much.
May the Force be with you.
Bye.